pretty much give up past Bangerter Highway merge, and then they'll get a little bit heavier once you get to 106 South. They'll stay patchy and slow until you get past the South Interchange, and then it will just remain with these very small patches of traffic until you reach the I-80 merge in South Salt Lake. Now, we are seeing quite a bit of slowing if you're on the northbound I-15 merge to eastbound I-80. That is going to be particularly slow at this moment in time, and heading eastbound on the 201 between Magna and downtown. Andy?
If you're heading to Weber State, you've got slowdowns on Highway 89 going under I-84 and up the hill towards Harrison Boulevard. And if you're going to the U, you've got backups all along Foothill from the 215 exit all the way to Wakara Way.
Today, we'll get up into the mid-90s. We'll stay in the mid-90s through Friday, and then we've got a chance of rain and cooler temperatures on the weekend. Right now, it's sunny. It's a pretty morning. It's 79 degrees downtown. Inside Sources coming up next on KSL News Radio.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. We now know the identity of the teenager who died after a fall while hiking Devil's Castle last week. An obituary remembers 16-year-old Zachary Jacob Crandall as a great friend, a determined student, and a passionate athlete. Friends and family are looking to raise money on GoFundMe to start a scholarship in Zach's honor. That link can be found on KSL.com. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. A growing number of family members of service members are being deported. The wife of a U.S. Army sergeant is the latest spouse of a military service member to be deported after the Trump administration rolled back immigration protections for military families. ABC's Karen Hua reports from Washington.
Sergeant Hader Juarez says ICE officers detained his wife Christy outside a Walmart as their daughter watched from her car seat.
They claim they're going for the worst of the worst criminals in this country. My wife doesn't have a criminal record. She has never had any kind of problems with the law, not even a traffic ticket.
The Homeland Security Department says his wife illegally entered the United States in 2016 from Honduras and was removed from the United States in accordance with our laws.
Advocate and president of the group Repatriate Our Patriots, Danitza James, is outraged.
Their lives are being put in the hands of an administration that it's not seeing how the families are connected to the service member and to their readiness.
DHS has responded, saying a family member in the military is not a pass to violate the law. Your money at this moment, the Dow's up 42 points to 53,460. The NASDAQ up 104 points to 26,086. Coming up, a few more thunderstorms today, and then hotter temperatures through the rest of the week. KSL Weather's next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
I'm not one to say I told you so, but I switched to Pure Talk over a year ago, and ever since, I've been telling people there's no better wireless company out there. Well, a few months ago, a massive survey was conducted. 123,000 people were asked to rate their wireless carrier in 4 categories: coverage, support, data, and overall value. Well, the results are in. Guess which wireless company was the only wireless company to get 5 stars in every category? Yeah, Pure Talk. 5 stars, every category. To celebrate, Pure Talk is offering the first 3 months of any plan for just $15 a month, including their top-tier unlimited plan. No contract, no commitment, just a very inexpensive way to test drive the only American wireless company with 5 stars in every category. Just dial pound 250, say micro, and Pure Talk's U.S. customer service will take it from there. Again, pound 250 micro. And yes, I told you so.
Is your financial advisor offering you up to a 25% upfront bonus? And are they promising you up to 9% growth per year, all for your retirement income? If not, then you need to come to Trajan Wealth. Hi, I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. And if you plan to retire within the next 10 years, don't wait only to find out it's too late. I've seen hardworking folks like you retire only to be required to go back to work, all because their advisor told them guarantees like these were too good to be true. They aren't. That's up to $25,000 upfront or up to $9,000 per year on $100,000, guaranteed for retirement income. Don't keep working when you're supposed to be retired, and don't let any financial advisor tell you it's too good to be true. Unlock your Trajan family office at TrajanWealth.com or call 1-855-TRAJAN-1. That's 1-855-TRAJAN-1.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. DBA in most states has Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions.
Thinking about replacing your windows? Choose the company that builds and installs them right here in Utah. Advanced Window Products is Utah's local window and door manufacturer that sells directly to homeowners. Hi, I'm Nate Orchard, the mayor of Sac Lake City with Advanced Window Products. At Advanced Window Products, there are no dealer fees, no middleman markups, and no extra costs to cover someone else's profit. From manufacturing to installation, every step is handled by Advanced Window Products' local team. Every window is custom built in Salt Lake City for Utah's homes and backed by one of the strongest warranties in the industry, a lifetime warranty covering labor, glass, and parts. Even better, it's fully transferable to the next homeowner. Right now, get $2,000 off when you purchase 10 or more windows. Financing is available, and Dominion Energy rebates may help you save even more. Call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. Or visit us at advancedwindows.com. That's 801-850-9100 or advancedwindows.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Here's Cormac Bone.
Well, we do still have delays on I-15 both directions at the South Interchange and 7200 South in Midvale, especially northbound, though. Also slow northbound from the point of the mountain up to Bangerter Highway. That's residual delays after a crash that has cleared off the road. Northbound delays continue into Salt Lake from past 4500 South all the way up to 13th South. And then southbound I-15 still pretty slow from the north interchange down past Warm Springs Road. We also have some pretty hefty delays from Davis into Weber County on northbound Highway 89. They start as you approach the mouth of Weber Canyon and reach all the way up to Harrison Boulevard as you go under I-84 and come up that hill. Two Brothers Mattress. Prices don't get lower than the Tempur-Pedic Labor Day sale in all 5 locally owned stores. Visit twobrothersmattress.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather forecast for today, increasing clouds going into the afternoon and a chance of showers. A pop-up thunderstorm is what it's most likely. A forecast high today of 94 degrees. Right now it's 79 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSL News Radio at KSL.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
All right. Look, Hot Take Holly is here to kick off your Tuesday morning. Under what constitutional authority does the United States Postal Service or even the President of the United States have to say in whether or not my mail-in ballot should count? And the Supreme Court, they can read the room, right? They can see what's coming, but they punted the issue down the road to even closer to the election. Greg Skordas, make it make sense.
Okay, I don't know that it's as bad as you might think. So let me just back up a little bit. The president issued an executive order in March of this year. I think it was March 31st, and he directed the post office to enact policies to verify the identity and of voters who are receiving mail-in ballots. He gave them that directive.
But that's not their job.
It's probably not their job, and it's probably not his job, because elections, as we know, are governed by the states, time, place, and manner. But he did it anyway because he feels like it's a matter of national security to make sure that votes are counted accurately and fairly, and so he issued the executive order. Some states these are blue states obviously, filed an action saying exactly what you did. You can't do this, Mr. President. You're a great guy, but this doesn't apply. It's not something you should be doing, and this executive order needs to be stalled. The Supreme Court said, well, you can't just stall an executive order. You can stall, or you can say that the the directive that the post office ultimately puts in place is wrong, that's an order. That's an order by a administrative body. But the president inviting an administrative body to do something isn't an action that can be challenged. And so that the Supreme Court said yesterday was, hey, blue states, you jumped the gun. You're asking us to strike down a directive from an administrative body that hasn't even been ordered yet. Now, it has been ordered. Actually,
there's a 95-page order with the U.S. Postal Service.
Finally got it done, and that's what the dissent is saying. Well, wait a minute. They did issue the order. Let's cut to the chase. And the Supreme Court, the majority, it was 6-3, by the way, as you might expect, said, well, at the time this lawsuit was filed, they didn't have the authority to do this, and that they didn't have the authority to file this lawsuit. There was no case in controversy, as we call it. So see you later, goodbye. So they struck there was an order by a lower court judge who agreed with the blue states and said, of course you can. The judge basically saying your argument, like, what are you guys talking about? You can't do this. It's fairly clear. They struck that order and said, no, the president's executive order remains in place for whatever that means. I know that's a problem, but
it is a problem. Keep going.
It's a problem because we have elections in 2 months and 2 weeks, and a lot of states are scrambling right now. Whether or not, and apparently some of these blue states have already got their next lawsuit ready. Yeah. But that's a huge problem.
But there's also an injunction already, an injunction still in place. So here's it. Partially it's confusing.
Right.
Partially it's annoying.
Right.
Right. So even if nothing changes, and in fact, Utah's own elections officer, which is the lieutenant governor, says nothing is going to change here in Utah, and she's working closely with our attorney general. But I still have a question. So I'm understanding from you, as we've talked on this show, for things to get to the Supreme Court, there has to be, I guess there has to be some sort of tension, right? There has to be something to push against. And they're saying because no harm was done, because no order is in place that caused potential harm. Am I understanding that correctly?
Sure.
That there's nothing.
Irreparable harm, right, yes.
Okay, so there's nothing in place. And yet at the same time, they say, okay, now we do have an order. There's still an injunction in place. The Postal Service says, basically what the executive order says is if you don't have a barcode that meets these qualifications, whatever, and you haven't signed up with the federal system of the election database that the president says he wants, I'm paraphrasing.
No,
of
you're
course.
right. You're spot on so far.
That we're not going to send your ballot to the county clerk. And again, I ask you, under what authority does the Postal Service have to say we're going to decide whether you have the right to cast a ballot or not?
Okay, so the answer to that is probably none. But I'm not a Supreme Court justice, and I would agree. I mean, I'm reading Ketanji Brown Jackson's dissent, which is pretty scathing, saying, "What are you guys doing here? This is Kafkaesque," she says.
Yeah,
and, this is kind of scary. And here's the problem that we have with these executive orders, is that we have never had a concern that a president would do issue an executive order that is so far out of the bounds of reasonableness and lawfulness that we challenge them. So, and I'm not saying this one is, but I'm just saying that we sort of give deference to the president. He's the executive, and we have to do executive orders. We can't always wait for Congress to act.
Congress doesn't do anything.
Congress doesn't do anything right now. Zero. They're asleep at the wheel and have been for 18 months. So the president issues this order. He's got a reason for doing so, we assume. He's got a good faith reason for doing so, we assume. National security, whatever you want to call it. So we give him deference. We give him tremendous deference. Now, I know we look back and say, well, what if it's so obviously wrong that we shouldn't give him?
That's how we get new laws.
And that's what the dissent is saying. Like, come on, you guys. Like, okay, now that the post office has issued its order, and now that it's ripe, let's just decide right now that they can't do it.
Right.
But instead, the majority is saying, no, you got to start over because you jumped the gun. You filed too soon.
So they're going to file another lawsuit.
Probably already in the can. Right.
Probably already. I mean, even today, right? Even if they file today.
Right.
We're talking elections happen in September, October, like 2 months and a couple of weeks.
Right.
The first ballots across the country start going out the first week in September,
Yeah,
which is
several
next
states
week.
are sending them out September 5th. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's next week.
Right.
So what the heck, Greg?
Well, I would say this. Maybe, I don't know how confusing, I know it's a long thing that the United States Post Office directive is, but I don't know how hard it will be to states to look at that and say, well, we're already in compliance with that, let's just go do it, or whether they can change a few things, or whether there will be a stay between now and September 5th. And another lower court will say, okay, blue states, your time is ripe now, let's do it. Let's do it right, file it, and be done with it.
Well, but it's not only blue states. I'd say right here in Utah, we have to put identifying information on our ballot. Right now, it's either driver's license or the last digits of that, or of our social security number to do identity verification.
Right.
But we don't have barcodes. That's
You're
what
right.
they're ordering.
And you're right, and that's going to be virtually impossible to get in place by the
In
time
2
we
weeks.
send our mailing ballots out.
That's right.
Yeah, no, it's confusing. It's problematic. It wasn't something I was doing cartwheels when I saw. I was frankly surprised the Supreme Court even weighed in. It's not even an opinion. It's one of those emergency. There was no argument. There were no briefing.
Right.
They were just
Right.
like, hey, let's
Let
make a
it
decision.
move forward, even though we know elections are in 2 months.
Right. Yeah. Well, a lot will be said about that. We're less than 24 hours out, and we might even have news for you, updates as the week progresses. Well, let's take a quick break and regroup. But let's keep this conversation going a little bit. When we return, we'll chat with KSL's digital political reporter about the changes, what they mean, and how it ties into the broader Save America Act, another issue dealing with election integrity, when we come back.
Looking to transform your kitchen or bathroom? Discover the difference at AMC Building Materials. New arrivals are here. Explore the latest shaker-style cabinets, sleek European-style flat panel cabinets, and beautiful new quartz countertops in today's most popular colors. With a 25,000 square foot showroom and a warehouse in Salt Lake City, AMC keeps a wide selection of the most popular cabinets and countertops in stock. So many in-stock cabinet styles are available for same-day purchase and pickup, making it easy to start your project right away. Enjoy factory direct pricing, free design, free in-home measurements, and expert installation. Most remodeling projects are completed in as little as 10 days. Visit the AMC Building Materials showroom at 3678 South 700 West or schedule your free estimate today at amckitchensaltlakecity.com. AMC Building Materials. Come see the difference today.
This is Colin Keary from the New Millennium Group. Have you ever had a question for your financial advisor only to find out that the next available appointment is months away? At New Millennium Group, we believe that financial advice should never be limited to once-a-year review meetings. Life happens every single day. Markets change, retirement questions come up, family situations evolve, and when they do, you deserve answers. That's why we pride ourselves at the New Millennium Group on being accessible when our clients need us most. Whether you're wondering about your investments or a major life decision, our team is here to help provide guidance. We're not interested in being the firm you hear from once a year. We want to be your trusted resource throughout your entire retirement journey. If you're looking for a financial team that values relationships, communication, and responsiveness, we'd love to meet you. Give us a call today at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or visit us at utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Sleep Number's new collections are designed to adapt to the changing nature of your life and your sleep needs. Whether it's the personalized comfort of the Comfort Mode mattress, the targeted pressure relief of the Comfort Next mattress, or the Climate Collection that actively cools or warms to help you fall asleep and stay asleep.
And now, all beds are on sale during our biggest sale of the year. Save 25% on the new Comfort Next Luxe for a limited time, only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
1-877-CARS for kids.
K-A-R-S, Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. 1-877 Cars for Kids. K-A-R-S, Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Ready to get rid of that old car? Donate it to Cars for Kids. Call 877-CARS-4-KIDS to speak to a friendly live agent. Donation is super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Go to carsforkids.org now, or call 877-CARS-4-KIDS to donate your car today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. K-A-R-S, Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Did you know you can donate real estate too? Go to carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K.
When American troops withdrew from Afghanistan in 2021, thousands of evacuees fled to the U.S. for protection. Many Americans welcomed their new neighbors.
For the last week, the governor tells me his office has been getting calls nonstop with Utahns wanting to help.
When we saw the pictures and the videos coming out of Afghanistan, we prayed to be able to help them.
But then, what happened? Listen to Stranger Becomes Neighbor, wherever you get your podcasts.
Inside Sources.
Well, the potential for chaos around elections are growing, and it all centers around mail-in voting. The big question from the Supreme Court's opinion yesterday, which paves the way for President's executive orders to move ahead, is what is actually changing. We are, by my count, 10 weeks, maybe 9 weeks from
election day. Yeah. So in Utah, the ballots won't go out until the beginning of October, but some states start sending them out, like we said, next week. So that's crazy. Then we've talked about, just in the last segment, there's going to be appeals, the potential to revisit everything from the midterms after the election. We're not going to overturn the election. We just don't do that. So the question remains, well, now what?
Yeah, we've also got the Save America Act, which is sort of moving down at the same pace. Our own Senator Mike Lee is way behind that, pushing it as ways he can. But I don't think there's any chance that's going to happen anytime soon.
We'll see.
But let's see now, between what happened with the Supreme Court yesterday and the potential for parts of the Save America Act to maybe be implemented, I don't know. Our Senator Curtis is sort of weighing in on that too.
Well, we're going to talk with KSL's digital political reporter, Bridger Bielsfetka. Thanks for joining us, Bridger.
Thanks for having me.
So timely. Let's talk first about the executive order and the Supreme Court's decision. So you just had an article yesterday. We're going to talk about Senator Curtis in just a minute, but tell us about your take on that.
Yeah, so as I understand it, this is kind of a technical or preliminary ruling. So there's still going to be a lot of lawsuits to play out, probably in the next couple of weeks, next couple of days even. Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson said we're expecting maybe another ruling as early as tomorrow on Wednesday.
Yeah. Because there's still an injunction in place, right?
Yes, yeah. So this ruling yesterday, I think it was 22 or 23 Democratic-led states that had sued. So Utah's not actually involved in this case that the Supreme Court weighed in on. So we're not affected by that, according to the Lieutenant Governor, and we maybe will have a little more clarity or a little less clarity tomorrow, depending on what comes down in that case.
Just logistically, like Greg and I talked about this in the last segment, but the logistics of changing envelopes, changing how you do mail-in balloting when elections are literally around the corner. In fact, ballots are going to be printed if they're not already in process, right? Very, very soon. We know who's on the ballot in Utah, for example. What are the logistics of trying to implement something that like this at least in your understanding, in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, it's from everything I've heard, it would be nearly impossible for Utah to do anything like this. Again, ballots are likely being printed very soon. Yeah. The Trump administration wants access to Utah's voter rolls, so that they say that they can get the U.S. Postal Service to deliver those ballots. That's something that our state has resisted. We have laws saying that stuff is private. A lot of people don't want that kind of information in the hands of the federal government. So it would be very hard at this point to make that happen. And sometimes courts in these cases will kind of defer issues when they're that close to an election, say, hey, we don't want to give the appearance of, meddling with this. So we're going to, it's too late. So we'll see if that plays any role here in the next couple of weeks.
All right.
Bridger, you had an opportunity to have some communication with Senator John Curtis and his office, at least in terms of the future and his weighing in on the future of the Save America Act. And I know it's Well, it is tangential. It's fairly related to this because we're still dealing with election security and whatnot. Can you tell us what you learned from his office?
Yeah, so he's supportive. The Save America Act, as you may know, the two main provisions are requiring photo ID to vote and that you prove your citizenship when you register to vote. John Curtis said he's supportive of that, and he thinks that most Republicans in the Senate are supportive of those provisions. The bill itself has some other things in it, requiring states to turn over those voter lists that obviously Utah doesn't want to do at this point. The president has also floated adding restrictions on mail-in ballots to the bill, potentially even addressing transgender athletes in high school sports.
Related to voting or just completely separate?
It would be separate, but part of that bill.
Right,
So it's not part of the current bill, but there are kind of some broader proposals.
Right.
Curtis is in favor of this smaller one, but he's even a little skeptical that a simple bill could pass at this point. And if it did, brings up some of the same concerns about could we even implement this by the time the election happens.
Well, to your point on the on showing proving citizenship when you register, showing ID when you vote, we already do that in Utah. We already do that. I think it's some of the other provisions that are so problematic, right, that make the Save America Act where there's just not the votes to pass it in the Senate, and there haven't been for some time. So my understanding is some of the other ones with it's like the name changes. In fact, we talked on our show with Matt Gebhardt about, no, it wasn't. It was Daniela Rivera, KSL investigative reporter, about the difficulties of somebody getting their own birth certificate that they had a previous copy for. This is an attorney who went in and said, here it is. And they're like, well, that's not in our files and you can't prove you are who you say you are. Wait, what? And he hadn't even changed his name.
Yeah. It's you might think, well, I'm an American citizen. Obviously, it can be harder to prove it. Again, if you don't have your birth certificate, if you don't have a passport, which a lot of Americans, a lot of Utahns don't. You might have been born here, but there's not a list necessarily, right. and so it is a bigger hurdle for some than you might think.
It's interesting because both of our senators obviously come from a state where we've had incredible success and integrity with our mail-in voting, and we still elect Republicans pretty strongly. So I guess to me, I'm looking at this going, well, what's the big deal? We know where Mike Lee is, but John Curtis seems to be, straddling the fence a little bit and thinking there are some good things about it and some things that maybe we don't want. Are there any indications that something would be done short of passing the whole bill? Anything that could be done between now and the time of the election?
It's possible. He actually floated, Mike Lee, you might remember a month or so ago, wanted Congress to work through its August recess to pass this bill. And John Curtis said, actually, sometimes when we're in Washington for months and months and we're fighting every day and bickering back and forth, sometimes coming back to our states for a few weeks kind of cools off, cools the temperature. And when we get back to Washington, maybe there's a path that there wasn't before. So he didn't sound necessarily optimistic to me that that's going to happen, but he remained open to the idea that when they come back in September, they will have a few weeks before the elections to pass some bills and maybe some things have broken loose and there's a path forward that wasn't there before.
Hard to imagine them passing something in September that would actually be implemented. However,
I can't imagine that.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and even if they did, it might be, might have to apply in 2028 because we're just so close at this point.
Right.
So recess is over. This is the last week. Is that right?
I believe so,
next week is September 1st.
I think after Labor Day, they go back.
Oh, so even after Labor Day, so then there may be another week. Because September is next week, but Labor Day is late this year. It's like the 7th.
But I think they come back and then they go back for campaigning.
Well, they'll go back in September. I just didn't know if it was September 1st. But if it's after Labor Day, it's not
I
until
think so.
probably
I think
the
they have
8th.
a couple weeks in September, and then they're back in their states.
And then they go campaign
in October. Yeah. And then
campaign.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you, and I think you included this in your article, but it seems like the Save America Act also wants to eliminate completely the mail-in voting option, except for just very, very rare exceptions. But I thought the president just voted by mail.
The president did just vote by mail last week, I believe, in Florida. He's consistently voted by mail recently. So,
is that not a little bit hypocritical?
I think a lot of people see it that way. And to be clear, the version of the Save America Act that has passed the House doesn't completely restrict mail-in voting. That's just something that the president and some people have wanted to include. But
I thought that was in the Save America Act. Oh, is it different?
As I understand it, there's some regulations, some additional rules. but it doesn't like completely roll it back.
So I thought some of the other controversial provisions also were get rid of early voting so that it's only election day voting and it's voting in person only. And did the only vote by paper ballot, did that stick in there or has that been taken out? Do you know?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. There's a lot of things that have been in and out.
That's a head scratcher. Yeah. Why would we go back to voting by paper, which has an error rate of many times higher than digitally?
Yeah, and we're not talking about, at least Senator Curtis isn't joining the discussion about doing away with the filibuster by any means, is he?
No, he's not.
He doesn't seem to be anyway.
Yeah, and he's skeptical, as the bill is written right now, even if they got rid of the filibuster, he's skeptical that the version of the Save America Act would pass, even if just a simple majority was needed.
Mm-hmm.
Would need a lot of work to do even to get that done.
I think that Senator Curtis has been pretty clear, though, that he's an absolutely not get rid of the filibuster kind of guy.
I've heard him consistently on that side of the fence.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. That was a lot of fun,
article.
Bridger.
Really good article.
Bridger Pilsfetko, KSL digital political reporter. Awesome. Next on Inside Sources, we're going to leave politics behind for just a little bit and chat about this fascinating story about a man who found out he was the son of a convicted death row inmate in Utah. The emotional turmoil he's been working through as his biological father awaits a new trial with new evidence. Holy cow. We're going to dig into that when we come back.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. Utah State University is entering a partnership to open a nuclear research campus in Brigham City. The campus would be a place students can learn and get job training in the nuclear sector. This comes as Brigham City leaders plan to bring in several small nuclear reactors in the future. They're hoping to have those up and running by the early 2030s. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The Supreme Court has backed new U.S. Postal Service regulations on mail-in voting, prompting questions about how the changes could be implemented with congressional midterms just over 2 months away. The Trump administration says the new rules will make voting by mail more secure, but critics say there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud in U.S. elections. ABC's Jay O'Brien reports.
There's a flurry of lawsuits here, and the court did not rule, the high court, on the merits and the contents of Trump's executive order here, which means this issue is likely to be in front of the Supreme Court again. The three liberal justices dissenting here, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson calling the president's executive order, quote, blatantly unconstitutional.
Utah Senator John Curtis is speaking on the SAVE Act following these charges. The SAVE Act requires ID and citizenship proof when voting. Curtis says he supports these ideas, but it's too late for the bill to be implemented before the midterm election. He says a recess could actually spur some movement on the bill because it allows lawmakers to calm down and come back more level-headed. Your money at this moment, the Dow up slightly, 53 points to 53,470. The NASDAQ up 145 points, 0.5% to 26,125. Coming up, it's going to get cloudier as the day goes along and maybe a pop-up thunderstorm this afternoon. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 9:31.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
You know, summer's not over, and what if I told you that 4 weeks from now, everything could feel different in your life? Your energy, your weight, the way your clothes fit. That's what the SOTA Dynamic Diet is built to do. And right now, SOTA has a special end of summer offer that they are extending through the end of August. So you still got time to sign up for this. Call 866-800-SOTA. Mention this radio station. You'll get 4 weeks free. SOTA teaches you how to let the weight go and keep it off for a lifetime without having to take any shots, any pills, no lifetime dependency, just food, expert guidance, and habits that last. Because SOTA believes weight loss should be temporary, but the results should not be. So instead of putting you on medication or shots that you have to continue with for the rest of your life, SOTA teaches you how to eat for your body, keep the weight off for good. SOTA recognizes the weight loss medications can cost a lot of money and the bills don't end. SOTA is different. They have degreed nutritionists that help you set up a diet that can work for you, and it worked for me. I lost 30 pounds in about 7 weeks, and I've kept it off. SOTA worked for me. It'll work for you. Say it with me. SOTA is state of the art.
Bad driving habits are hard to break, but good driving habits are easy to form, especially when they can lead to a discount on your auto insurance. With Farm Bureau Financial Services, the safer you drive, the more you save. Drivers like you are saving an average of $351 per vehicle. So buckle up, learn more, and find an agent at fbfs.com/save. Individual savings results may vary. Farm Bureau Property and Casualty Insurance Company, Western Agricultural Insurance Company.
Pump up the volume.
Business moves fast. Orders roll in, deadlines close in. When you ship with USPS Ground Advantage, you can keep up with confidence. Every package stays in our secure network from dock to door. And with nationwide reach, dependable tracking, and upfront affordable pricing, you get built-in peace of mind. You run the business. We run the routes. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to learn more.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Out here, farming runs on credit. Every spring, we borrow from the local community bank to get crops in the ground. But proposed crypto legislation in the U.S. Senate contains a carve-out that would drain deposits out of our hometown banks, causing us to have to pay more for the credit we need to do our job. Call Senator John Curtis and tell him don't let a crypto carve-out drain credit that farmers rely on. Learn more at farmersforafairdeal.com.
Paid for by Farmers for a Fair Deal.
Traffic and weather together brought to you. Traffic and weather. Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Learn how to save more this summer at UCCU.com. Here's Cormac Bone.
Do you still have delays on northbound I-15 from 90th South all the way up to 13th South? Also pretty slow northbound I-215 approaching the 201 freeway. That's due to a crash, and it looks like you cannot go eastbound on the 201 coming up on I-215. You can still go westbound on that transition ramp. And we also have some trouble in Ogden. This is Hinckley Drive is closed both directions due to a pothole being fixed. And that's from 1900 West over to Pennsylvania Avenue. You can still get off of I-15 at 31st Street to go to the airport. All machines on sale at Dave's Bernina in Provo and St. George. Free Bernina accessories valued up to $4,600 on certain machines purchases. And a limited 0% interest offer for 48 months. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather forecast. We've got a high of 95 set for today, 94 today, 95 tomorrow, 96 on Thursday. The chances of showers decreasing each day as we work through the week. Might have a pop-up thunderstorm this afternoon. Right now, though, it's sunny and fair, 79 degrees. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
A man who spent decades on Utah's death row is now facing a new trial for aggravated murder. He's expected to learn more about his potential future tomorrow. Douglas Carter was convicted of murdering Eva Olesen in 1985. But new information plus misconduct by police and prosecutors during his original trial resulted in his conviction and death sentence being overturned by the Utah Supreme Court.
Yeah, and this one happened 45 years after his trial. The Supreme Court said too much occurred between the prosecution and investigators as it relates to some important witnesses that wasn't disclosed to the defense counsel. So they are preparing for a new trial. Douglas Carter has been transferred from the Utah State Prison, I believe, to the Utah County Jail. But his biological son is speaking publicly for the first time about this whole process and experience and learning how his father was at 18 when he learned about his father, dictated much of his adult life.
So KSL spoke exclusively with Tyler Enger about this experience, and KSL podcast executive producer Amy Donaldson spoke one-on-one with Tyler and his wife Melissa. She joins us in studio to tell us, and I'm really interested in this story about what it was like for his son, who was adopted, it sounds like, and when he became an adult, found out that Douglas Carter was his biological father. Holy cow.
I mean, you're like your family is like my family. We have adoption is part of our family's DNA, right? I have an adopted sister.
Yeah.
I know you have adopted kids.
Yeah.
And so, it was very intriguing to me to find when I had asked one of the defense attorneys, hey, I would like to talk to Doug. I mean, Greg knows because I once bugged him about this kind of stuff. I asked to talk to everybody.
Sure.
And he said, well, at first like, no. And then actually Tyler's wife, Melissa, actually tracked me down.
Oh, wow.
She called the desk here at KSL and was like, is there a reporter there?
Wow.
And somebody happened to know I was working on it. So that's what we connected. But there was not at first a conversation about them talking about their personal experience. But yeah, he was adopted at 5 days old.
Yeah.
He's a mixed race kid, adopted by white parents. So, and all the kids in his family are adopted. So they all knew they were adopted. His mom kept in touch with his biological mother. So when he turned 18, he said, his mother asked him if he wanted to meet his biological mom, and he did, met his biological siblings, and asked who his dad was. And she just kind of said, whatever, wait. So it actually wasn't until he was 26 that she finally said, okay, this is who it is. And I don't think she gave him a lot of information. I think she just gave him a name and said he's one of the 9 guys on death row. And so he did some research, obviously, and found out like this heinous crime, and it was just really, and he said it was really, really difficult.
Wow.
To process. I mean, how do you process that?
Yeah.
So, what did he do? Did he want to go meet with his father, his biological father?
Yeah, he did. They did correspond. They didn't never have an in-person meeting because Doug is on death row.
Right,
They get 1 hour out per day. So. And there's no such thing as a contact visit. There's plastic between you. So he never went but he started corresponding, started talking to him on the phone, and started to get to know about Doug's life and his family. And then he just was getting into some bad habits himself to try to cope, numbing himself and sort of trying to deal with it in a not very healthy way. And so he decided to take himself out of the situation. He cut off contact with anybody in that realm and headed up to Utah State.
Wow. You actually have a sound clip I want to play the first time that Tyler actually spoke with Doug.
The first time I ever really spoke with Doug was about that 2009 time frame. He'd sent me some stuff. We talked. Couldn't talk on cell phones at the time. I'm like, can't you just call my cell phone? He didn't even know what a cell phone was at the time. And like, no, I can only call, the house. And so I would talk to him at my parents' house on the phone, and we talked, and it was kind of weird because you feel like it would be like you're talking to yourself looking in the mirror. Like that's kind of what it sounded like, what it would remind me of. And some of the stuff that he says, or like the way he phrases things, it's weird how that works. But yeah, we had talked for a little while, and that once again, that was when I went down my own little deep dark rabbit hole, and I just kind of cut contact off of pretty much everyone,
including his biological father, apparently.
Yes.
So, I mean,
I should be clear, not his adoptive family.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
It would seem that, and maybe we can get into this a little bit, but if you find out that your biological father's on death row, you're not going to have the kind of life advice, or maybe you are, that you might expect from someone to say, hey, don't go down the road I went down, or something like that.
Well, I think that Tyler is pretty clear. He had a great childhood. I mean, he loves his parents. He said, my parents are the best people in the world. And so he wasn't looking for anything. I mean, sometimes when adoptees reach out to biological family relatives, they just want answers to some questions, or it's like a missing puzzle piece. So I have an adopted sister. I actually got to take her to meet her biological sister. And it was interesting. I was like having this little bit of anxiety, and I was like, oh, why do I feel weird about this? Like, this is such a great honor, right, to be able to accompany my little sister to do this. And then when they met, and I could see they look alike, and they share the same like love for their culture. Like, I thought that's what it is. Like, they have a thing that I can't have. Like, it's not mine. But yeah, but like, she's still my little sister. Like, I changed her diapers. I, fed her bottles. I, bought her Christmas stuff, So That is hard to navigate in the best of circumstances.
Yeah.
And it is, I can't imagine having that kind of reckoning when someone is on death row and not knowing, like, I mean, not everyone. A lot of people in prison say they didn't do it or they didn't do what they're accused of. But Doug has maintained his innocence and Tyler. And so that's another thing to try to grapple with.
Yeah.
This really horrific thing. He says he didn't do it. That there's an injustice in that, but there's also like, do I believe this guy I just met? You know, there's just all this complex nuance that adds on top of what Holly and I will tell you is already a really complicated family dynamic.
I can't even imagine.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to have you for another segment because I've got a whole bunch of questions. So that's good.
Okay,
but
I promise to stop crying.
But no.
No.
Look, one of the things that I think, and I know that my adoptive children think, is what part of me, what genetic part of me impacts my behavior. And I can only imagine that Tyler had some of those same things. It's like, oh my gosh, do I have some kind of weird genetic propensity for killing people? I mean, to be blunt.
If he believed that he did it, but I don't think he ever, I think that he didn't, you know, that was the thing, like either he didn't know or he believed, you give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
But pretty quickly, like they said, in the Tovar recanted their, or talked about how the police offered them money, threatened them, that kind of stuff. Those weirdly is just overturned in 2025. But those affidavits and that's evidence was being collected and written about in the newspaper and talked about in hearings in 2010.
Wow.
So this is
that still would have been after he met his biological father, though.
He'd met him in 2009, so it's not a long,
not a long time
like
later.
Let's just say he had to grapple with that first before he was like, did he do it? You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the way it is. For, I mean, again, like I just can't imagine like what order you take these complicated, like any of them on their own is, you know.
So Carter's now in the Utah County Jail, I believe, Amy, which has a little bit less barrier restriction, maybe not in terms of visitation.
There is no in-person visitation, not even for the media.
Right. Yeah.
Oh wow.
COVID. Here's something I learned since I haven't been on the beat for a couple.
We can do that.
Sports for 20 years,
right? Yeah.
Yeah. See, you attorneys, you like get special privileges, but us regular people, I like to tell the attorneys they have a different lane in the courts.
Yeah.
And no, it's not that bad. Like you be a normal person. But there's no in-person visiting at the jail, and there's no. You have to have an account with this private company and pay 19 cents a minute to do these video calls, which brings up a lot of questions for me because most of the county jails in this state do that now. And it's my understanding that like even the state prison no longer lets you meet in person with inmates to do interviews. I don't know if that's the case for, you know, if it's only in certain circumstances, but that's one of the things I've loved when I was covering law enforcement and covering criminal justice, which again, Greg knows because I was bugging him at the time, is that everyone wanted us to, as journalists, to get the best and information and the most context to really understand. I mean, the prison they let me watch, you know, prison industries. I went to sex offender therapy. I mean, it was always safe. I was always supervised, but I think they wanted me to understand what they were trying to do at the prison and and the crises they were under when they were understaffed and you know, the prisoners, like there was this element of like, we want to be understood and we want you to, you know, help us do that.
Right.
And that is gone from today's criminal justice coverage.
I have more questions for
zippity doo-dah.
Now than I did 10 minutes ago. Can you stick around for just a minute?
I'll talk about this all day.
Thank you.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Sign up for KSL Text Alerts. Get breaking news and traffic updates by texting the word news to 57500. Want access to exclusive contests? Text contest to 57500. Jazz fans, text the word jazz for breaking jazz updates. And Cougar fans, text BYU to 57500 for the latest on the Cougars. Message and data rates may apply.
Breaking news doesn't wait, and neither should you. Get immediate news alerts anytime news breaks. Download the KSL News Radio app for free for breaking push alerts on your phone, or subscribe to our breaking news text line. Just text news to 57500 to get started. KSL News Radio, your home for breaking news.
Friday, join KSL News Radio and NPS from 10 to 1 as the movie show stops by. Then browse and uncover what makes NPS so great. With 4 locations, NPS takes in new inventory every day. Then they check all competitors' retail pricing before marking items down 20 to 70% off. So you're invited to visit the movie show Friday 10 to 1, and that's the first step to discovering NPS. Visit npsstore.com to begin your own NPS adventure. npsstore.com.
And expanded Inside Sources.
All right, well, let's continue our conversation with Amy Donaldson, who's here in studio with us, KSL podcast executive producer, about an exclusive interview she took part in with the biological son of a man who has spent 40 years on Utah's death row. I mean, I can't even imagine. You can't even make this up. I mean, this is such a scenario. It's just hard to fathom.
So we're talking about Douglas Carter and his son, Tyler Anger, his biological son, because as an adoptive parent, that matters to me. Before the break, Amy told us really about just kind of the overview about him finding out when he was about 26 or so who his biological dad was. And I wonder, we do have sound from you, but what he felt through this whole process with his biological father.
It was very, very heavy, and it can continue to be heavy as of today. This is totally, I'm 43 years old, and I have never been more confused about what's going on than I am right now. I don't have a whole lot of faith in the justice system at all. This is absolutely ridiculous how long it takes to do everything. You go to court, you're there for 20 minutes, and then you got to come back 90 days later. You got to be kidding me. What are we doing here? Like, I've legitimately lost faith in how all this works. This isn't fair to anyone in this case, and that includes the Olesons. And I feel horrible for their family. I really do. We've been doing this for so long, and you've been told one thing forever and ever and ever, and now all of a sudden things are coming up to where maybe it's not this way. People want answers. Why are we taking so long to get these answers? Why do we got to push for this? Why does it got to take 6 months for discovery or whatever he said there?
Litigation.
Yeah, why are we not moving faster? This is not right in that aspect.
All of it is very heavy. All of it. To feel this overwhelming feeling of, I want to help Doug. Doug has been portrayed a very particular way in the media since day one. We feel very strongly about this way that he's been portrayed. Nobody hears him because in everyone's mind, he's a criminal. He was previously convicted of this. He's a criminal. And so, we wanted to step up and maybe magnify his voice a little bit better so people heard him better. And there have been so many times where it feels like we are legitimately on the edge of things. Like, we feel hopeless, we feel helpless, we don't know what more we can do. We see things right in front of us unfolding in front of our eyes and think this is absolutely insane the way that this is going, and we don't know what more we can do. But we also know that this is incredibly wrong, what is going on. So, we'll keep trying, but this has been an absolute roller coaster of emotions and thoughts and feelings and all of it. It's been a lot.
So was that second person, was that Tyler's wife?
Yeah, that's Melissa. Mm-hmm.
That's a really interesting perspective. So as you've interviewed Tyler and Melissa, what is your takeaway as somebody who's really been working, I think, in this arena for a while? You've got a lot of experience. What's your takeaway from them?
I think they're remarkable people. First of all, I think Tyler was raised by remarkable people. I think that Doug is really lucky that his kid got adopted by the people he did, and he became the man that he is, and that he found a woman who would just embrace all of this. I mean, they literally started dating when he went to Utah State. So he was in the deep dark hole that he talked about.
Wow.
They met through some friends and they started dating then. So this has been a part of their relationship, but it was really a peripheral part until the Supreme Court decision overturning. And I think the real frustration now, and I should note that Andrew Adams, that was really his TV interview. I've been talking to them, but it's a joint effort there. So
that's great. Thank you.
Yeah. So I want to give Andrew credit because he's great, and I think he's like me. He's like in it for the long haul now. There's a lot. It's hard doing daily journalism because it's hard to follow something over time.
Yeah.
And I think their frustration is that everything takes so long. Like there's this motion filed and then somebody takes a month to return,
right. Exactly.
I mean, even me trying to go through the evidence, I actually went over to Neil Hamilton's office and I had all my motions out and underlined and highlighted because there's no consistency when they respond. This is Exhibit 1. Exhibit 1 is no longer here, or it's at the State Crime Lab. So they use item numbers, exhibit numbers, police, so it's there's like 3 different ways to identify the evidence in this case. And some of the evidence has been lost or destroyed or never existed. And it's unclear. I had to go through every single thing. And luckily, Neil Hamilton had already done it, so we did the same. But just even to understand what is being debated, what is the judge going to contemplate on tomorrow? And because he's going to have to decide 3 really pretty big issues, I think. There's a bail hearing, which is going to take like half the day. There's witnesses. And then there's the suppression, the motion to suppress his confession. And then there's the evidentiary issues because both sides say they want a side-by-side comparison of 8 items, but the defense they don't have any answers to like where did the stuff that was tested and that doesn't show Doug's DNA or doesn't show a hit with CODIS, which is where his DNA is. They don't know where did this come from, who's had custody of it, and which 8 items do you want to, do you have good enough DNA? That's the thing. DNA deteriorates, as we know.
Yeah, sure.
We are DNA. So you have to like which items. What's the level, like what's the quality, and they want their expert involved, and the communication between the 2 sides seems like as bad as I don't know.
Wow.
A couple of high school
the cases.
It's like a couple of high school kids fighting or something. I just I'm like I just want to get out and say look, we could solve this in one conversation. So I hope Judge Pullen will put on his dad cap.
He's a good one for that, by the way.
He seems like a really great judge.
Pullen
I've only very limited experience, weirdly, a couple of times, but yeah, it seems like he's not about the.
I'd really like to hear our last little soundbite about what Tyler and his wife Melissa hope happens before we run out of time. If that's okay.
Yeah.
You see something and you're supposed to say something, right? And so that's what we've been trying to do. And you hope that this picks up traction and there's people that comment on news reports about this that say I've followed this ever since this happened. I feel like if that were me, I would go, wait a second. Hold on a minute. He's been telling the truth this whole time. Why is this taking so long? To read through comments, to see people say, why isn't this being dismissed? Why isn't he being set free? This has been hard. We are parents. We both work. We're friends.
It's taken up a good. Life has changed this last year. Life has been very different than
to try to hold it together and to accomplish our daily responsibilities and to hold things together mentally and emotionally, to be a sounding board for Doug because he is rightfully frustrated with things. Well, we are frustrated at the same time and we want to scream from the rooftops what's going on. It's been really difficult. And we are not trying to discount or take away from what essentially happened here. This is absolutely tragic. Doug lost his life too. You know, we've been asked multiple times, what do you think life would be like with Doug if you had a relationship? We have no idea.
No clue. But I'd like to know. I'd love to know, but we don't have a clue what it would be like to, you know, to sit out on the front porch and watch the sun go down and
holidays.
Yeah.
Birthdays. You know, any the more people that love your kids, the better, right?
Wow, that was something else. It really was.
Well, and I just want to say that they have that same level of frustration and pain for the Olesons. Because on the other side of this is a family who has never had any, you know, you think when you get a conviction in a case as a victim, the family member of a victim, like, okay, we can move on. This is our closure.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, especially in death penalty cases, there's so many appeals and it drags on in so many different ways that they don't have any peace. I mean, both, you know, I think Eva and her husband both have passed. You know, Eva died in 1985, but her husband died in the 90s. It's just, I can't imagine being on that side too. And they feel like there's no consideration by the attorneys involved and really the court for how this is impacting real human beings.
Yeah. Wow. Well, Amy, thank you so much. We'll look forward to talking to you and following up
I'll be
a
in
little
court
bit more
tomorrow. But yeah, I'll bug you.
Hey, if you missed any of this chat for this segment and the one prior, check out the KSL YouTube page shortly, and we'll have it posted. Douglas Carter's hearing is tomorrow. We'll have more analysis on the latest developments on that during tomorrow's show at 9:35.
We'll be right back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. More U.S. home buyers are canceling sales after starting the buying process. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla reports.
14% of the deals to buy homes in July fell through. That's an increase from the last few years and the most since November 2023. It's because buyers have the power. That's what a report from Redfin found. There are 51% more sellers than buyers in the U.S. right now. So it's easy for buyers to cancel because there will be another option. But the cancellations could also be because Americans aren't as confident in their finances and the market overall. That's because of the Trump administration's tariffs and the war in Iran. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Thousands of people in Gary, Indiana are still without power today after severe storms blew through the area about 2 weeks ago.
Regina Gary, still without power. She spent the past 2 weeks hunting for food and ice to keep her diabetic mother's medication cold.
That's scary for me because I don't want to make her sick. So it weighed on me pretty heavy.
ABC's Alex Perez says keeping stores stocked with food is a growing concern, and many areas are still covered in storm damage. President Trump posted on social media this morning he is considering changing the name of Lake Ontario to Lake America. It would follow the president's move last year when he signed an executive order renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Your money at this moment, the Dow up 118 points. That's 0.2% to 53,535. The NASDAQ up 154 points, 0.6% to 26,135. Coming up, we've got the mid-90s in the forecast today with a few storms possible. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:02.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Your business isn't just a balance sheet. It's the late nights, the bold bets, the people counting on you to get it right. At UMB Bank, they've stood beside businesses like yours since 1913, not just as a bank, but as a team who understands what's at stake. Because real banking isn't just transactions, it's trust. It's a relationship built to last. Visit UMB.com. UMB.com. Bank deposit products provided by UMB Bank, N.A., member FDIC.
Logan Fury did something smart. He saved hundreds on auto insurance switching to Progressive. With that money, he bought a mini treadmill. Is walking on it during video conference calls more distracting than he thought? Yes. And is that because he overestimated his foot-eye coordination? Definitely. But it's Logan's savings, and if he wants to burn calories and any chance at a promotion, we say, good for you, Logan. Switch and see if you could save with Progressive and treat yourself. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer at a beverage manufacturing plant, he starts his day knowing every line is ready to run because Grainger delivers the industrial-grade products he needs to keep mixers, conveyors, and packaging equipment moving. With Grainger's vast selection of bearings, belts, and motors, he keeps operations running smoothly, so nothing grinds to a halt. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Are you a local business tired of juggling deliveries, managing drivers, or sending valuable employees across town? There's a better way. Pigeon Ship. For more than 10 years, Pigeon Ship has provided fast, reliable, same-day and next-day delivery services for businesses throughout Utah. Whether you need a few deliveries a day or hundreds, Pigeon Ship has the network, technology, and experience to get it done on time. Auto parts, plumbing supplies, electrical components, pharmacy deliveries, and more. Utah's most successful businesses trust Pigeon Ship to keep their operations moving. Stop the stress of hiring drivers. Stop pulling employees away from their real jobs. And stop worrying about whether your deliveries will arrive on time. Join the thousands of businesses that rely on Pigeon Ship every day for dependable local delivery solutions. Visit pigeonship.com today to schedule a call and see how quickly Pigeon Ship can streamline your delivery operations. Pigeon Ship. Avoid the trip. Pigeon Ship. That's pigeonship.com. Pigeonship.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Auto loan rates as low as 4.74% APR. In the traffic center, here's Cormac Bone.
We have a vehicle fire that's already been doused, but it caused some pretty heavy delays eastbound on I-215 South Belt. That starts near Highland Drive and reaches all the way over to the corner at 6200 South Big Cottonwood Road. They are still blocking a right lane there. And eastbound I-80, also a crash, causing these delays to last quite a bit longer from Kimball Junction over to the US 40 turnoff. They are blocking, it looks like, 2 left lanes there, so only 1 lane getting through, and those delays are slow and go. And we are still looking at a crash northbound I-215's west belt just before you get to just before you get to the 201 freeway. It looks like they're only blocking the right shoulder now, so you can transition to the 201 freely. I'm Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather forecast, a high today of 94 with a slight chance for an afternoon shower, mid-90s the rest of the week. Then a cold front drops us down into the 80s over the weekend. Right now, it is 81 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSL.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Here we go again. Oh, we need that song. But here we go again with naming nonsense, because this morning President Trump said he is seriously considering renaming Lake Ontario to Lake America. Why? Because we're in a trade war / feud with our neighbors to the north.
Well, the Gulf of Mexico hasn't changed its name, so that didn't go
depends on who you
ask.
ask.
Lake Ontario is probably not going to change either. I don't know that you can do that by any sort of presidential edict. But anyway, just within the last hour, and we're getting caught up on this, Canada announced retaliatory tariffs of about $20 billion worth of American goods, including dairy, appliances, steel, and farm equipment. So it's going back and forth.
Well, as expected, right? So I want to talk about what this means for us. What does it mean for our wallets? What things are going to change and go up in price in this trade war? So we're going to talk about that in this segment. But still, I want to go back to one of the things that you just said about renaming the lake to Lake America. By what authority does the president have to actually rename geographic bodies?
Zero.
Well, that's what I thought.
Except that he's a president. So,
but still, you can't do that.
No, he probably can't. I mean, I don't see any way that he could do that any more than he could rename the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, we can call it the Gulf of America and put it on some maps, but that's not what it's going to be called. What we're talking about is this: the U.S. and Canada engaged in a umpteenth level of trade negotiations just last week, just within the last few days. They got very close, and I think a lot of people felt that we had a good deal. It fell apart at the last minute, and Canada has now said, hey, we're out of here. We're not even going to continue with this. Is their Prime Minister Carney, who said, we're done.
Like, we're done.
Literally walked out of the negotiations. And so Trump has said, okay, we will impose 50% tariffs on Canada. And Canada is saying, well, what's good for the goose? And so they're going to announce similar countermeasures. And this is not good for either country. They are I think they are number one trading partner. At least they're in the top 2 or 3. And you do something like this, it's going to be a huge problem. And they got hung up on some things that probably shouldn't have been things that the United States was requiring. One of the things that what troubled me about what happened here was that one of the things that the United States was requiring was that Canada also have the similar trade negotiations or similar trade agreements that the U.S. does. So, for example, if the U.S. has a trade agreement with Brazil and they impose a 30% tariff on meat, or I'm just making stuff up, Canada would be required to have the same thing. And Canada said, we're autonomous. We do our own trade.
They are their own country.
And we shouldn't have to do that. And that was one of several deal breakers in this, where the Canadians just walked out of it. Now it's going to cost Canada a lot, but he's getting a lot of support within his country.
Yeah, so look, the president told Canadian leaders to fall in line. There are people who, they did the wink and the nod, the calling Canada the 51st state. It's not a state. It's its own sovereign nation. So when you've got a president of one country telling the leader of another country that you're supposed to be friends with that they better fall in line, you can believe that there is some pushback. So Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne and 3 other cabinet members, they were speaking on some of these tariffs and saying that the administration, quote, wanted to destroy our major industries. They're saying the U.S. wanted to destroy our major industries. And so they're speaking about saying, look, we didn't choose this war. This trade war, right? We didn't pick this, but we're going to stand up for our country and our goods.
And 76% of the Canadian population supports what they're doing. They're just tired of the United States. I was looking at some of the goods that we purchase from Canada, and the list is voluminous, as you might imagine. But one of the big items is wood. I mean, Canada has a big forest industry, and apparently 36 different kinds of plywood alone we bring from Canada. And home builders in the United States are starting to think they need to start stacking up. They need to start purchasing these things up front because they're going to get socked.
We're not building a new home anytime soon.
Huge tariff. And then going the other direction, the states like Kentucky and Tennessee, others who produce liquor, whiskey, bourbon, that type of thing, and think they can import it to Canada are going to have a hard time recognizing that that's going to be costly to them too, and it may not even be profitable for to do that at all, among other things. But the deals go back and forth, and of course you can't buy an automobile, I don't believe, in the United States that at least was made in the United States or Canada, that it wasn't made in part by both countries.
So I mentioned that the finance minister talked about not choosing the conflict. He said this also: when our economic integration is used as a weapon, rather than a foundation for a win-win partnership, we need to stand up. And then the industry minister is encouraging Canadians to buy Canadian. So I can totally understand that. But some of the things that, I can understand hockey sticks, but makeup comes from Canada.
Yeah.
We have a lot of makeup. Of course, seafood, cheese, toilet paper. Please don't restrict my toilet paper.
It's because of the lumber industry. The
Yeah,
wood,
that's right. That's right.
Paper products.
There's also Christmas decorations. I didn't realize. So we talked last year about tariffs on China, Christmas decorations coming from China. Well, they also come from Canada.
Oh, this is just nonsensical. I mean, there's no reason for this, to have this problem. And it's going to hurt both economies in a way that doesn't make sense. It's right before the midterms. It's not going to help some of the red states. If you imagine some of the red states that
some of them are like, wait,
export
stop
liquor,
doing this.
and they're saying, hey, wait a minute,
Well, because they're going to
Kentucky
end
bourbon.
up, you know that they're going to end up getting hurt by this.
Right.
By people who are in those districts who are feeling the impact of these, right? They're going to take it out on their local politicians.
What I didn't understand this, and I know we're running out of time, is I thought we were on again, off again. I thought we had a trade agreement with Canada.
Well, we did.
It seems like we've had a few, and something keeps setting them back to where we're renegotiating, and the United States wants more and more, and Canada is more and more unwilling to take that. So I don't know, they finally just walked out. And is this going to be a precursor to other countries? Maybe some will follow the lead and say, you know what, if Canada can do it, we can too. Anyway, let's talk about the economy a little bit more. And when we come back, and truly the economy appears to be on the top of Utah's voters' minds, we'll break down some brand new polling from our friends at the Deseret News after this break.
It's time to get sewing again with special discounts and super savings in August on Bernina machines and accessories at Dave's Bernina in St. George and Provo.
Find out about the new products to be released in the upcoming weeks. Special pre-order pricing on the all-new Bernina 790 Ultra, 580 and 495 Liberty Editions, and the Bernina 660 and 620 Surgers.
Come in and test drive their sewing machines.
The Bernina 990, 770 Pro, and 570 are on sale, featuring free accessory bundles worth from $2,900 up to $4,600.
All new Berninas come with a 5-year warranty and free classes.
48 months, 0% interest on specific machine purchases.
And at Dave's Bernina, they service all brands. August means big savings at Dave's Bernina, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo.
Dave's Bernina. So what are we doing today?
Let's see. Pickleball at 9, lunch with the Johnsons at high noon, grandkids at 3, concert tonight. I thought retirement was supposed to slow down.
It did. We're just doing things that we actually like right now.
Funny how your busiest days become your favorite ones. At Ovation Homes, they build homes designed for your next chapter, not your last. Single-level living with modern finishes and low-maintenance features, making everyday life easier and a lot more enjoyable. Designed for real life and real budgets. A fresh approach to active adult living in northern Utah. And during the Next Chapter event, you can receive $7,500 on select quick move-in homes or $10,000 on a new home build. Visit Sadie's Glen in Syracuse or online at ovationhomesutah.com. That's ovationhomesutah.com. Your best years really do start at Ovation Homes.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. Welcome to the end of summer sale at AutoZone. We're celebrating the end of long days and short nights with big deals for a short time. Like on Wash and Wax, you can get 3 Meguiar's products for just $20. Need new brakes? Duralast brake pads are free with the purchase of Duralast rotors. We've also got oil deals and more. We're ending the summer right with the end of summer sale at AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply.
Progressive knows that for business owners, vacations hit different. But hey, at least you finally took a vacation. And look at that. You only answered 53 calls, 84 emails, onboarded 1 new hire, and covered for Chris while he's out on paternity leave, and you did it all from a kayak. Because you, my friend, know how to relax. All right, you may not know how to take a day off, but you do know both your personal and business auto insurance needs can be covered in one place with Progressive. So at least that's relaxing, right? Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states or situations.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
In the military, the mission was clear. You knew what to do. Now, the mission has changed. Stepping into civilian life isn't about finding a job. It's finding your purpose.
I wanted a career that would leverage the skills and discipline I gained in the military. IT just felt right.
My Computer Career offers class schedules that fit into your life and skills in high demand. Put your VA benefits to work. Visit mycomputercareer.edu/CWP to jumpstart your IT career today. An elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Everything to my back is dark.
High in the alpine wilderness.
Really ugly clouds coming over from the north.
A place
the ridgeline is imposing, the escarpments, the drops.
where survival,
It's dark now. I have nothing.
is never certain.
This is not good.
My name's Dave Cawley, and I'm the host of a podcast called Uinta Triangle. It's about the disappearance of an Australian hiker named Eric.
Our conclusion and that of the sheriff is that the mountains have decided to keep him.
Come retrace Eric's footprints with me.
You have done this walk too, but this is your backyard.
Did he really make a wrong turn, or did he decide that he was done?
He is not the first or last person to vanish in this remote region.
It was haunting to see the photos. I mean, really.
Find and follow the podcast series Uinta Triangle. That's Uinta, spelled UINTA, Triangle, wherever you get your podcasts. All episodes out now.
And expanded Inside Sources.
Hey, so we want to ask you, our listeners, as we move to the midterms, what is your top issue as you look to cast your ballot? What's the biggest thing driving your vote? Text us at 57500 and we'll do a little unofficial poll comparing your responses to what we have today as a legitimate poll.
So there is brand new data out from the Deseret News and Hinckley Institute of Politics. And they find, once again, economy and jobs are the top issue for Utah voters. You can read more about the poll at Deseret.com, of course. But right now, I want to get more information from the editor of the Deseret News, Sarah Jane Weaver. Thanks for joining us, Sarah.
Thanks for having me on.
So I wondered if you could just set up for our listeners a little bit about these poll questions, because I have been including the data from these polls in my Utah Policy newsletter almost every day for the last little while, it feels like, because it's like, oh my gosh, that's so interesting. Oh my gosh, that's so good.
Well, and these polls matter so much because they're coming up right as we're preparing for a very important midterm election where actually the balance of power in Congress is at stake. Mm-hmm. And so we were trying to figure out, what do people care about and what motivates them as they cast these very important votes. And as you mentioned, what we found is almost half of voters said economy and jobs is their number one concern.
I feel like that's huge.
Yeah, that says something about the state of this country. And it was interesting because 41% actually said inflation was also of very high concern.
So the top two issues are really economics related.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all about the price of bread.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that sounds like a quote from somewhere. Maybe Les Mis. Okay, so tell us about some of the issues, maybe some of the other issues that you found in this poll, because I thought it was interesting. Things we talk about, we think is really important. A lot of the voters that you surveyed didn't think they were nearly as important.
Well, I was surprised to see that 27% of voters care about government corruption.
Yeah.
And that will be a factor for them as they cast their vote. And things that I thought might be more important, including support for or opposition for the war in Iran, 24%. So just 1/4 of voters said that will influence my decision. The number for immigration was very similar at 23%. And something that we think of a lot and we talk about a lot when we think of Utah and its voters is family values and morality and faith. And only 1/4 or 23% said that would be a factor in how they vote.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Immigration was the huge issue 2 years ago. I mean, let's face it, it's probably the number one reason that Trump was elected, at least one of the top reasons. And now that's at 23%, giving me the impression, Sarah, that maybe a lot of voters feel like, okay, we got it. You know, we've done what we need to do. Let's move on to other issues. I would also say this: economy and inflation being two of the top issues, that's got to look bad for the party in office when it comes to midterms, because they're responsible for those two.
Yes, certainly that has to be a huge concern. I have 3 daughters, all in their 20s. I'm not sure how they're going to pay back student loans, if they're going to be able to find jobs. And I actually worry a lot about whether they're going to be able to afford a house.
Yeah.
And so that sort of lines up. The Republicans have controlled both the House and the Senate. And that in the past 2 years, maybe not as much has happened as voters hoped would happen in this area. And so we might see a little bit of a shakeup. We might see people saying, hey, I want to see some changes.
Right.
So we have a texter that is just reflecting exactly what you said. And they said their number one concern is just the ability to live. We can't get a house, let alone pay for an apartment with the ability to eat and pay bills.
Yeah. I thought another very interesting part about this poll was that in past elections, 43% of Utahns said they backed Republican candidates, and 28% said they backed Democratic candidates, and 8% said they were unsure. Now, the thing that's interesting is now 14% in this most recent poll said they were unsure.
Interesting.
And you know, that tells you that a lot of people are confused right now.
Yeah.
They don't really know what will bring about change, and they're trying to figure out if one candidate or another can actually impact change.
I think that's really interesting, and I don't know. I mean, every once in a while I'll hear people say, "Oh, Utah's turning purple," and I don't really see that, but I do see some discontent. I think with the party in power, both locally and nationally. Sometimes I think we saw that reflected in the primaries as well. So I'm wondering, as you do these polls as the Deseret News, I'm going to ask you a question to put you on the spot, I'm sure. How do you decide what questions you want to even go out and ask? Because I think they're really great questions when I read about them when they're done.
Yeah, so these polls are conducted by Morning Consult. We poll more than 800 registered voters in Utah, and we make sure that we poll enough so that we have a margin of error that's somewhere between 2 or 3%. And we do that in connection with the Hinckley Institute at the University of Utah. And so some of the really smart people at Hinckley Institute and some of the really smart people at the Deseret News get together, and they talk about what they're reading, what they're seeing.
Yeah.
What we like to poll certain issues like immigration that we've polled in the past so that we can see trend lines.
Yeah.
I think it's always interesting to see how voters are changing, especially in an era where we're actually seeing some frustration with incumbents or the political environment generally.
I know that you polled data centers, right? Polled on data centers. That was a really good one. I loved the immigration poll.
Yeah, I think that what strikes me, besides the two that deal with the economy, and this might surprise you a little bit, Sarah, maybe not, but corruption and family values, 27 and 23%. And I'm wondering if that is a signal that people are concerned that our leaders and our country has sort of lost its moral compass a little bit, and that we're floating a little bit. We don't know what's right and wrong. We don't know who we can trust. I'm just thinking out loud here. Corruption, family values, morality, or faith. To me, those are somewhat related in terms of people wondering if we are going down a bad path right now.
Yeah, and you know, Jason Perry, who is the director of Hinckley Institute, he said that he thinks these poll results show an uncertainty about the election, that people are more uncertain than they have been in the past. And I think that goes along with some other polling we see where people are losing faith in institutions generally. And so when you talk about numbers going down, or only a fourth of the people saying, well, faith or family or values are going to influence my vote, I think it tells a lot about what they believe government can actually influence. And maybe they're less confident that the government is going to represent their views than they were in the past.
I like the focus. And let me ask you this other question. So how often does the Deseret News and Hinckley poll? Are you doing this once a month? Are you doing it once a week? What are you doing?
We poll at least 10 times a year. It typically we take December off or July when things slow down a little bit. But if things are happening in those months, we throw in a poll. It's important for us to know what people are thinking about so that we know what kind of content to create for our audience.
I have one follow-up question. I'm sorry, Greg.
That's okay.
And that is, you don't poll on election leanings, do you? Like, we're running a poll and this is what we see, or do you? Like on congressional races, for example.
So it's very hard to poll, especially like on local primaries, because you have to get a whole bunch of people who you know are going to actually show up. But yes, we like to poll and see how Utahns are feeling about certain candidates, especially issues that impact the nation. And we work with Morning Consult, which pulls in a lot of other different states and areas and has a huge network, and we have access to some of that data as well.
Super interesting. Thanks for joining us, Sarah Weaver, editor of the Deseret News.
Really very interesting.
Yeah. Coming up on Inside Sources, we're going to shift gears and talk about a really, I think, difficult topic, but important one, and that's teenage suicide. So there's a brand new study on teenage suicide in Utah that's about to come out from the state. There's some really interesting findings, and we get a special preview of the report and how we can all work together to lower our youth suicide rates coming up next.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. Flock cameras are on pause in Washington Terrace in Weber County. Mayor Mark Allen saying he felt they should take some time and some action after Governor Cox spoke out about them last week. Allen says they plan to continue discussing the use of the cameras in the coming months to see if the city wants to reinstate them. But residents took to community social media pages to applaud the city's decision. 2 teenagers in Iron County are being investigated for criminal mischief and obstruction of justice after police say they admitted to destroying a Flock license plate reader and fleeing the scene. Court documents say that a witness saw the 18 and 19-year-olds use a Sawzall and a sledgehammer to take down and smash the camera. They were later pulled over by Cedar City Police for a speeding violation and were arrested. Police say the pair got the idea from Deflock America videos online. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The San Francisco 49ers owner has been arrested in a prostitution sting in Ohio. Here's Trevor Alt with details.
Court records say Jed York was taken into custody in East Palestine Sunday at 9:35 a.m., with authorities saying he responded to an ad placed by an undercover agent on a prostitution website arranging sexual activity for $140. Police say York agreed to meet up at that trailer park and was arrested there with the phone he allegedly used to respond to the ad.
He's now taken a plea deal to reduce his charges. Your money at this moment, the Dow up 79 points to 53,497. The NASDAQ up 169 points to 26,149. Coming up, we've got mid-90s for most of the week. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:31. The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Hey, so like a lot of you, I started the year thinking, one of my New Year's resolutions is going to be to lose weight. And it's because over the last maybe 5 or 10 years, I started gaining more and more and more. in a way that I just felt uncomfortable. My clothes didn't fit right. My belt didn't fit anymore. I had to readjust things, and I thought, I got to do something about it. Well, January, February, March came, and I didn't lose anything. I was a failure. So I contacted Soda Diet Nutrition and said, hey, can you guys help me? Because of some of the other people here at KSL had great luck with them. I didn't need to lose a lot. I thought if I could just lose 25, 30 pounds, I'd be great. They said, we'll hook you up. Soda actually has a special right now, end of summer special. If you call 866-800-SODA and mention this radio station, you can get 4 weeks for free, and that goes until the end of August, so you've got to hurry. The reason I went with them is because it's based on a food-based diet, no dependency in terms of pills, shots, anything you have to take the rest of your life. I lost 30 pounds in 7 weeks. Soda worked for me. It'll work for you. Say it with me. Soda is state of the art.
Do you have an IRA or 401k? It's natural to think of this as being your money, right? But remember, you still have to pay taxes when you withdraw this money in retirement. And you could be paying a lot more in taxes on these accounts than you know. A lot more. Learn the strategies that can help you reduce or eliminate your taxes in retirement. Don't miss a special edition of Retirement Solutions Radio this Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock, right here on KSL News Radio 1027.
Man, I love this place. I've been surfing here since I was a kid. Now, seeing my grandson out on the water, it means everything to me. Watching him and taking in the blue waves, the sea breeze, the blurry horizon.
If you have geographic atrophy, or GA, subtle changes in vision could mean it's progressing toward irreversible vision loss. Izervay is proven to slow GA progression and could help preserve your vision for longer, so you may keep seeing the world around you. Izervay, or avacincaptad pegol, is an eye injection. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may cause blood in the white of the eye, blurred vision, or a temporary increase in eye pressure. Do not drive or use machinery until vision has recovered after an eye injection or exam. Ask your retina specialist how you can slow your GA with Izervay. To learn more, call 1-855-IZERVAY or go to izervay.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. In the traffic center, here's Cormac Bone.
Roadways easing up a lot in Salt Lake County. We're not seeing any delays, though these crashes are still there. Northbound on I-215's west belt approaching the 201 freeway in the right shoulder, and eastbound on I-215, the south belt just after Highland Drive. The vehicle fire there is also only in the right shoulder now. Where it's still pretty heavy is eastbound I-80 from Kimball Junction over to the US 40 turnoff. That crash is still there, blocking 2 left lanes, only 1 lane getting through, and that's why it's stop and go from Kimball over to the US 40. I'm Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather will be in the mid-90s today, a high of 94 predicted. We'll stay there through Friday, 95 tomorrow, 96 Thursday, 95 on Friday, and then the temperatures will dip over the weekend down into the high 80s. Any storms you see today, most of them in the mountains. Right now it is fair and 81 degrees in Salt Lake. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at ksl.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So this next topic is, I think, sometimes hard to talk about, but important to talk about. It can be uncomfortable, I get it, but we have to talk about this new report that's going to be coming out from the state of Utah on teenage suicide.
Yeah, the State Department of Health and Human Services takes a closer look at social connections and family treatment, plus mental health. How do all of these things affect teenage suicide rates?
We're joined in studio by Dr. Michael Staley, Suicide Prevention Research Coordinator and Principal Investigator for the Utah Office of the Medical Examiner. First, I just wanted to ask you, can you just describe what that relationship is with the Medical Examiner's Office? Because that sounds so interesting.
Yeah, thanks for asking about that. We in Utah are a unique state in that we have a centralized medical examiner system. And several years ago, our legislature had the foresight and wisdom to say, we want to know what's going on in our state right now with suicide and overdose. And so they embedded an epidemiologist like me about 9 years ago at the medical examiner's office and a colleague several years later for overdose.
Wow.
So what is your role then within the department? I mean, suicide prevention and research coordinator, that seems like incredibly important. It also seems really broad. So tell us what you do.
Yeah, well, we want to understand who dies by suicide in our state and the circumstances that led up to their death. And that's really my primary role. We do things like try to identify suicide clusters in schools and jails so that we can get out in front of them and stop them before they become a bigger problem. But also for overdose as well, when we see an emerging kind of drug that we didn't expect, that we can get that information out to our public health partners, our law enforcement partners, and we can do something about it. We can have a real public health response.
So we're talking about a study that looks specifically at youth suicides coming out next week. What were some of the key findings on that you can share?
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that we think about when we think about suicide is mental health. And certainly there is a connection to poor mental health and suicide attempts, suicide ideation, and suicide mortality. But for these young people in this study, one of the things that was more important than mental illness, depression, anxiety, the like, is childhood trauma. Things like physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse. Almost 80% of them collectively had experienced at least one kind of abuse, and 15% of these kids had experienced all three kinds of that abuse. And so when you think about how do we go about treating that problem, if we're treating them for depression and anxiety, we're not really getting to the root cause. So we have to do a better job at making sure that we're assessing youth for what the real problem is and getting them to the right kind of treatment. Another thing that we found was that a lot of these youth some of them had no friends, and that certainly is a really big problem that we all can do something about. But a lot of them did have these really great friend groups. They said that they had somebody close that they could talk to, somebody in a crisis they could turn to. But when you got right down to it, they didn't feel like they belonged in their community. And belongingness is just such a core part of identity and who we are that we have to make sure that these young people feel a sense of belonging and a sense of purpose in what they're doing. And that's not an easy task to do.
It seems like more and more we hear, Doctor, and maybe, I don't know if your findings would corroborate this, that exposure to the internet and exposure to things that young people are seeing now and their reaction to that, I would have expected that to be a bigger part of this. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But and I don't even know if that's even quantifiable from your perspective. But do you think that there's something there also that's affecting our youth, things that they're seeing on the internet that are encouraging them to do things or take actions that they maybe wouldn't otherwise take?
For a small number of youth, that's absolutely true. And we heard that from their parents and their friends when we interviewed them. We discovered kind of a problem in that youth, we talk about social media, things like that, but we don't actually oftentimes know what youth are doing on their phones. I think in the last several years, we've gotten better at giving parents tools to know what their kids are doing on their phones. But a lot of times parents and friends were like, we don't know. They were just on their phone.
Yeah.
And there were kids that were on their phone a lot. There were kids that were on their phone sometimes, and kids that were like, their parents were like, I couldn't even get them to return a text message. They just would leave their phone in their car. They would leave it in their backpack. It was not an important part of their life.
Interesting.
But our virtual lives are just another dynamic in our lives, another aspect that are becoming more and more just not something else, but something a part of who we are. One thing that we did find was that youth who are restricted from an electronic device, about 1 in 5 of them died by suicide shortly after their parents took away their devices.
Really?
And by all means, we're not saying that we shouldn't be putting good limits on device use and things like that. But I think it does call our attention to what does this device mean to this young person. And if this is the only way they're connecting to their friend group, we need to make sure that they're staying connected and that we're talking about healthy boundaries around phones and tablets and things like that.
Wow, that's really fascinating. Were there warning signs with these youth that ended up committing suicide?
Yeah, we talk a lot about warning signs when we talk about suicide prevention, and we asked about a lot of warning signs in this study, things like withdrawing, things like giving stuff away. And yes, these youth exhibited warning signs kind of across the board, but they were really different across the group, meaning some of them had 1 or 2 warning signs, some of them had just 1, some of them had 5 or 6. So really when you boil this down, the thing that we are thinking about is parents, caregivers, adults, friends, we need to examine change. It's not that any one of these warning signs is more poignant than the other, but we have to think about like something's changed. You're not, and it might mean nothing to that they're changed, but I've noticed the kind of music you're listening to has changed. I noticed you're not hanging out with the friends that you used to. What's going on? That's an expression of caring, and it shows that you're paying attention. And when you're paying attention, it shows that you care. So those warning signs certainly were there, but they looked so different for all these kids that it really cooks down to what changed.
Yeah.
We're in the wild, wild west where we honor our Second Amendment rights, and I was wondering if you feel that the accessibility to firearms would in some way contributes or maybe increases the rate of suicide. And I say that just, and there's a question here, trust me, but if parents were more responsible in terms of locking down firearms, making them so that you can have them, you can look at them, but you can't just grab them, if that might make a difference in these rates, or if you even have an opinion about that.
Yeah, I grew up in the Wild West. I grew up in a farming community, and I was going to high school around the Columbine high school shooting. And I remember sitting in a high school English class, and there was a firearm in the vehicle because I just took a ranch truck that day. And I thought, oh, wow, I got to get this thing home. But that's the reality of where we live in rural communities. A lot of these young people said that their parent or their family said that they lock up their firearms, but that when they became a teenager, they knew the code or they knew where the key was to get to this safe. We got to kind of take it one step back and just say it's about firearm safety, not about Second Amendment rights. It's about making sure that people who are in a crisis don't have access to a highly lethal means like a firearm or a lot of medication. But maybe a 16-year-old who's going through a breakup with a girlfriend or a boyfriend shouldn't have the code or the key to the gun safe. If they need a firearm for some reason to go shooting with friends, then you go get the key, let them get the code, we build in those safety guards around firearms. And that's just safety. That's hunter's safety 101. Right. Put the ammunition somewhere else. Lock up the firearm when it's not in use.
Maybe same with the medicine cabinet too.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. I know we're almost out of time, but can you tell us about the rates?
Sure. So in Utah, we saw a dramatic increase in youth suicide between 2010 and 2015. And then it plateaued at a really high rate between 2015 and 2019, some of the highest in the nation. And since then, our rates have remained high. We are not out of the woods by any stretch of the imagination, but they did go down just a little bit after 2020. And so I would say our suicide prevention efforts, we've invested a lot as a state in our communities in youth suicide prevention. Proof's in the pudding, and I think it's working, but we got to keep full court press on this issue because there's still more work to do.
All right. Thank you so much. I hope you'll come back and talk to us again.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Super interesting. Dr. Michael Staley, Suicide Prevention Research Coordinator with the Utah Office of the Medical Examiner. So it's important to remind you, too, as we're talking about suicide, the 988 Suicide Crisis Line. You can text or call 988 for free confidential support for you or your loved ones when they're in crisis. It's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And I'll also mention Utah specific, the Safe UT app.
All right, next on Inside Sources, as we approach the 25th anniversary of the terror attacks of 9/11, we're taking a look at ways to turn hurt and pain into healing and how a national movement towards service is working to not only reshape the future of September 11th, but also make sure we never forget. Stay with us.
This is Colin Keary from the New Millennium Group. Have you ever had a question for your financial advisor only to find out that the next available appointment is months away? At New Millennium Group, we believe that financial advice should never be limited to once-a-year review meetings. Life happens every single day. Markets change, retirement questions come up, family situations evolve, and when they do, you deserve answers. That's why we pride ourselves at the New Millennium Group on being accessible when our clients need us most. Whether you're wondering about your investments or a major life decision, our team is here to help provide guidance. We're not interested in being the firm you hear from once a year. We want to be your trusted resource throughout your entire retirement journey. If you're looking for a financial team that values relationships, communication, and responsiveness, we'd love to meet you. Give us a call today at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or visit us at utahsfinancialplanner.com. KSL.com.
Want to rep the bright side? We're giving you a chance to win a limited edition KSL Brightside t-shirt. To enter, visit KSL.com/win. We'll have you subscribe to KSL Brightside on YouTube and leave a comment on your favorite video. You could be one of the lucky winners to sport this exclusive Brightside gear. Tune in for a smart take on life, current events, and everything important to you and your family with a dose of fun. Join Ethan Millard and Alex Curie every weekday from 1 till 3 p.m. on KSL News Radio and streaming live on YouTube from noon till 1 p.m.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-8157. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-575-8157. That's 800-575-8157.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
My name is Tom.
My name is Cindy.
We give to and volunteer with United Way at our community free health clinic.
We know our time and money are going to the right places.
We don't just wear the shirt.
We live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Stolen Voices of Dole Valley. A gripping new podcast about a serial killer you've probably never heard of. Warren Forrest.
If he had dumped two, you would have thought maybe there's another one.
But now a witness, identified in the podcast, could lead investigators to Jamie Grissom. Binge Stolen Voices of Dole Valley wherever you get your podcasts and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the latest breaking news in the case.
Inside Sources.
Well, transforming pain and tragedy into something uplifting and positive, that's the goal of a national movement towards a day of service on September 11th.
We're going to have a really special show for you on 9/11 in just a few weeks, so make sure you tune in for that. But today, we wanted to get a preview of this National Volunteer Project and how it will look here in Utah on that day.
I hadn't realized we're at the 25th anniversary, or we shortly will be the 25th anniversary of 9/11.
I know.
So we are joined this morning by Andrea Sorkin. She's the Vice President of National Programs at 9/11 Day. Andrea, thanks for joining us this morning.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
So, first of all, I learned something just a second ago. A 9/11 Day is actually a nonprofit organization.
Yeah, we are. We started back in 2002 in the aftermath of the September 11th attacks.
So tell us what you're thinking about in terms of the 25th anniversary, because we think of this day as, obviously it was a dark day for America, maybe one of the worst days that we've suffered, but you've got some things that you're doing to make that a little more positive.
Yeah. So, when our organization got started and in the way that we've grown over the last, nearly 25 years, it was really about the way people responded to the September 11th attacks. And it was really about folks coming together to help their neighbors, to help their communities, and also those who rose to service on that day. So what we do is really want to take that spirit and that feeling of kind of what came next and really use that as the inspiration to move forward. And also what we teach the next generation. There's been 100 million people born since September 11th, believe it or not, that have, of course, no memories like we all do of what happened that day. So it's really important to us, and it's a really powerful impact that we work on year after year.
So this National Day of Service, I know is like it's official. What is there anything different about the 25th anniversary? Is it bigger? Is it broader? What's going on?
It sure is. So this is a federally recognized National Day of Service. So it was signed into law back in 2009. The only other National Day of Service on the calendar is MLK Day. So this year we have grown pretty exponentially, which is super exciting for us. We stage these large scale volunteer service projects across the country. This past year in 2025, we were in 24 locations across the country, including Salt Lake City. This year we'll be in 51 locations.
Wow.
So at our projects, we pack dry, non-perishable meals. Those meals are all donated to the local food banks in those communities. So all of the meals stay local. So the folks that come out to our projects can feel that impact really close to home. And so this year we'll be engaging more than 50,000 volunteers across the country at these projects. And we'll be packing nearly 18 million meals, which is super exciting. And that impact is really significant.
What an incredible way, Andrea, to turn a terrible event into something that we can look at positively. You're talking about the response and the service and making it a day of service. How can people find out more about your project?
Yeah, absolutely. So go to our website, 911day.org. It's 911day.org. And so we're challenging Americans this September 11th and the days leading up to September 11th to do good deeds. We'd love for you to come out to our projects across the country, but if you can't, any act of service, there's nothing that's too small. So it could be helping your neighbor, it could be helping your mom, it could be helping your teacher, or it could be going out to a large scale service project. So we're challenging folks, go on our website, and pledge your good deed for September 11th and show how you're going to be honoring the day.
Who are some of your partners in this effort?
Yeah, so we partner with, so AmeriCorps is our federal partner. So AmeriCorps provides us with federal funding. They've been a fantastic project partner to us over the years, both, of course, financially, as well as providing volunteers to us across the country. We partner with Feeding America. So we work with Feeding America affiliated food banks in all of our cities. So all of the meals that we pack go to their locations in those communities. And of course, we have fantastic corporate sponsors as well. Delta is one of our national presenting sponsors. Reliance is another sponsor. So we have fantastic, partners across the country, both from a government side, nonprofit side, and corporate side as well.
Are individual states and communities doing their part in this? And I say that because, as you probably know, and I'm going to tout our horn here in Utah, we are the state that serves. I think we're top in service.
We're number one.
Yeah, but have you got things specific to different jurisdictions and states?
Yeah, so I will say Utah definitely shows up. So you are not wrong about that. And that was actually one of the reasons why we chose Salt Lake as one of the locations for one of our projects, because we knew that Utah is, known for their commitment to service. Our projects, of course, Salt Lake City, we're here for a second year this year. We'll be at the Huntsman Center on the University of Utah campus. But we are all across the country. So we are in every region of the country this year. So we have are in, every single time zone, 51 locations across the country. But yeah, I will definitely, give Utah the kudos there, because Utah definitely shows up when it comes to service.
You mentioned something about 100 million kids being born since 9/11, 2001. And I was an adult and a mom, and I remember that day very clearly. Yeah. What surprises me, I guess, is to think about kids who are maybe only reading about it in a textbook. What kind of programs or educational support is 911day.org doing?
Yeah. So again, you can go on our website. We have free educational resources for schools, for teachers, grades K through 12. It's all age appropriate lessons that teach about not just the history of the day and the significance that it had on our country, but also that importance of giving back to your community, and why that piece of service is so important, and why that is really what we want kids to understand about the legacy of that day. And that's how you honor the people that we lost and those who rose to service, is really by giving back to your communities and putting goodness back out into the country.
And I've asked you this a little bit before, but just tell us, the locals here, how they can find out more, or maybe participate in the project that you've got here in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, you can go to 911day.org if you're interested in participating in the project in Salt Lake City. You're also welcome to email us, volunteer@911day.org. We do have some spots still available to participate in our project in Salt Lake. And of course, there's other opportunities as well. We have other organizations that will post their projects, their local projects, on our website too. So, if Salt Lake City isn't your local space, if you're somewhere else in the state, still check it out. Check out the website, because there might be other projects that are in your area that might be easier for you to get to, or better suited for you. So definitely take a look at our website and see what's available.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. That was really great. So
it's a great idea. What a wonderful program.
I know. And the National Day of Service. When we come back, we're going to be talking about Nevada suing over Colorado River agreements, and House Speaker Mike Schultz might have said it best. He goes, "You're making a difficult situation even harder." We're going to talk about that when we come back after the break.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good morning. It is 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Tammy Kikuchi. KSL's top local story this hour. A rockfall in Zion National Park has temporarily closed the upper section of its scenic drive. Visitors to Zion National Park will have to give up the idea of getting to Weeping Rock or hiking through the Narrows for at least a while, since a rockfall yesterday covered the road past the stop leading to Angel's Landing. Park visitor Aaron Leach caught the moment on camera. The fall happened at the Big Bend area of Zion. Rockfalls in the past have forced years-long closures of trails and remind visitors the canyon is geologically active, constantly widening and changing. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: the U.S. and Canada are getting closer to an all-out trade war. Effective September 8th, Canada is going to plan on placing tariffs of 15%, 25%, and 50% on some American goods going into Canada, effectively matching the tariffs the U.S. applied to the same goods. ABC's Elizabeth Schulze has more.
What the U.S. has imposed here, $20 billion, accounts for about 5% of the imports, 5% of the stuff that we buy from Canada total. But of course, now you've got this new threat of Canada, another $20 billion, that dollar for dollar. And then the risk becomes, how much more does this escalate? When you hear that rhetoric, this is an incredibly closely entwined relationship. There is the potential for this to escalate further and even dent that number more when you think about the cost for people at home.
A new estimate from the Yale Budget Lab says it'll cost the typical American household $1,100 per year. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up at 53,510 points. The S&P and NASDAQ are also in the positive zone. Coming up, we'll have a look at the weather forecast, which is a little bit sunny. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:02.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Amanda, there's a lot of different companies that promise results, but there's very few that you can see the results. Soda Diet and Nutrition is one of those that you will see the results and you just can't deny it.
I mean, you can lose 15 to 20 pounds in a month.
In a month.
In 4 weeks.
And this is why it's so awesome that Soda has extended their 4 weeks free offer until the end of August. So you can have that. You can get ready for holiday season. You will look great going into holiday season.
I lost 37 pounds in a little more than 3 months, and I've kept it off for 4 years. So do you want long-term success and long-term feeling great? Think of Soda.
Yeah, and I lost 70 pounds in 5 months. It can be done, and it feels great. You have more energy, your clothes fit you better, and you just feel confident about a lot of things.
And if you don't want to take our word for it, go look on Google. There are over 10,000 fantastic Google reviews of Soda.
Just call 866-800-SOTA to speak with a degreed nutritionist or go to sotadietnutrition.com because Soda is, say it with me, Amanda,
state of the art.
I'm really interested to hear about how your parents talk to you at home, and how do you think they can kind of break through to you?
It's just to talk about it. It's just seriously it's going to be awkward at first, but if you keep repeating it over and over again, it's just going to feel natural.
Keep going, and soon we'll just be able to talk about it.
Talking about mental health with your teens is the power of we in action. Visit intermountainhealth.org/teen mental health.
Everything to my back is dark.
High in the alpine wilderness.
The ridgeline is imposing, the escarpments, the drops.
A place where survival,
it's dark now, I have nothing,
is never certain. In 2011, an Australian hiker vanished.
Did he really make a wrong turn, or did he decide that he was done?
You have done this walk too, but this is your backyard.
The mountains have decided to keep him.
Find and follow the podcast series Uinta Triangle, wherever you get your podcasts.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Here's Devin Latore.
There's heavy residual delays on eastbound I-80 and Kimball Junction after a crash that was blocking multiple lanes, but is now cleared off the road. Also a crash on the right shoulder northbound I-215 at the 201 interchange, not causing any slowdowns. Since 1913, UMB Bank has stood beside businesses, understanding what's at stake. Banking is a relationship built to last. Visit umb.com. Bank deposit products provided by UMB Bank N.A., member FDIC. Devin Latore in the KSL Traffic Center.
Well, today will be sunny with highs in the lower 90s. The rain is gone for now. There's a small chance it'll come back tomorrow afternoon. In the meantime, prepare for partly cloudy weather. Right now, it's 81 degrees under fair skies. I'm Tammy Kikuchi from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at ksl.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
It's a little wonky, but the lawsuits have begun. Nevada, a lower Colorado River Basin state, is now suing the Trump administration over its plans for the future of the river, and the state says they don't want to cut their water usage.
I was a little surprised at this. I thought that everybody was seemingly on board, recognizing that the Glen Canyon Dam is a mess right now. Lake Mead is at an all-time low. I thought everybody would say, hey, we need to all tighten our belts and get this done.
No.
Yeah, so their
it's
suit,
water.
Yeah, I guess. The suit has got some pretty interesting reaction from state leaders. The Speaker Mike Schultz saying the lawsuit is actually making a difficult situation even more difficult.
I know. And look, you talked about the Colorado River, I think, while I was vacationing. I was camping.
Yes.
But it's an issue that is been kind of complicated. And I just remember the first time I ever wrote, the first time I ever covered anything with the Utah legislature in any kind of public format, I had a blog called Holly on the Hill. And I just remember somebody telling me, just remember this when it comes to water. In the West, whiskey is for drinking and water is for fighting over. And that has been the rule for more than 100 years, right? So maybe not in Utah, but you know what I'm saying is that water is such a precious commodity out here that when we start to have water levels go down and the lower basin states, if I'm understanding the whole river system correctly, lower basin states get their water from reservoirs, but here in Utah, we don't have a reservoir that we're pulling water from.
Right. No, we're getting it from our
From
snowpack.
the sky.
Yeah, from the sky. And so it's a little bit different. You've got the upper basin states. I'll probably miss them, but Utah, Colorado, Wyoming. And then you've got the lower basin states that include California, Arizona, and Nevada. And I missed at least one state, but it doesn't matter.
But they're hot and dry.
And so Nevada has filed a lawsuit saying, why should we have to take a 70% cut when the other states are not? The upper basin states, from what I understand, it's a little different because they're not, like you say, they're not drawing it from reservoirs. It's falling on their ground, and it's going into the Colorado River. And maybe there's ways that they can, provide more. Although Utah is, as I understand it, is sending water from Flaming Gorge into the Colorado River, at least down to the Lake Powell. So it seems like Utah is doing something, or doing their share. Nevada, I'll just say this, they built an incredible city in the middle of a desert, and when you go to Nevada,
a hot desert.
When you go to Nevada, one of the things that we do is we watch the beautiful fountains and the
Bellagio.
Even some of the nicer casinos have one has a waterway right through it, and I'm just like, you guys, we're in the middle of a desert. There's no water here.
So we're talking about Las Vegas, obviously, and so I've driven to Las Vegas and through Las Vegas a number of times, and it's always striking as you get closer and closer. You start to see golf courses. You start to see
swimming pools. Right?
Holy cow! It's
Right.
like 115 degrees. It's like 95 degrees at 10 o'clock at night. I don't know which pioneers thought, hey, we should settle here. But in any case, this new federal plan with the Colorado River water says that there will be cuts. There has to be cuts. And the Nevada governor, he's like, half of my state could face a cut of more than 70%, but Utah doesn't have to, quote, contribute one drop. Well, Mike Schultz was not moved by that argument.
Yeah, what he said was, and I said this a minute ago, Nevada is making an already difficult situation more difficult. Yeah. Reaching an agreement requires every state to come to the table, respect the process, and recognize its responsibility to be part of the solution. Litigation doesn't move us any closer to an agreement.
I think here's part of the problem, and I was hoping we could get Speaker Schultz on the phone today, but hopefully we can get him back again in the future. But I will say this. They have been talking about the Colorado River and water for years. And the reason the state or the federal government stepped in is because they couldn't come to an agreement. So they've been at the table, but it's just been really hard to get to agreements, right? It's hard to say to people, well, now you see this, cut your water use by 70%. Are you kidding me?
Right. Utah did set aside $6 million to be used in the lawsuits during their 2026 legislation. The Nevada governor said this about Utah and the upper basin states. He said the upper basin states throughout negotiations have, quote, steadfastly refused to agree to any tangible reductions in water use. And so to him, it doesn't seem fair that he's taking a 70% cut and Utah and the other upper basin states aren't doing anything. But it is a little bit different situation.
But we're not doing anything, right? There's your double negative for the day. We are doing things in Utah. We've talked about that a lot. We've talked about agriculture getting smarter and wiser with how they use the water. In fact, I just saw an article today about new technology that is helping farmers really decrease their water usage. We've talked about water usage dropping through consumer usage, right? It's one of the reasons that our reservoirs in Utah haven't dropped further this year because people have conserved, right? So I mean, I think that's a little bit of an overstatement on his part as well.
Yeah, so it is interesting because the federal government laid out these plans and seemingly had input from all the states, the upper basin and lower basin. One of the upper basin states that I missed was New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I nailed them all. But these states have been working on this. We've had this discussion for years, and they cannot come to an agreement. They cannot come to an agreement.
I know.
So the feds just came in and said, okay, here's your agreement, and here's what you're all going to live with. You're going to take a cut in the lower basin. The upper basin, you're going to do what you need to do. And Utah has actually done a lot to conserve water and to cut back on their use, but probably the fact that they weren't required to as a part of this agreement has made Nevada people upset. I don't know. The problem is also this. The Colorado River is getting smaller every year and will continue to get smaller every year. Trust me.
Yeah.
And you think that
Lake Powell.
Yeah, Lake Powell's at an all-time record low until next year at this time. Then it'll be another one. And it's going to continue. They probably end up shutting it down. We can send water down from why can't I remember Flaming Gorge's name? And maybe we'll have a monsoonal moisture season this year. Who knows? But it's going to be a one-off, and it's not going to make a huge difference in the big picture. And we're going to have, unless something changes in the whole environmental system, we're in a drought that's probably going to last for at least my lifetime.
That's not encouraging.
I mean, there's no change. There's nothing in sight that makes you think the planet's going to suddenly become that Utah's going to start getting a lot of moisture. I don't know what would change. I don't know what's going to happen.
I just wonder what that would mean long term, right? If we don't have the same level of water. And look, Nevada is saying, look, we're fighting for our life here, basically, right? They have done so much. This is according to their lawsuit, right? But they have done so much to conserve and to cut back and to be efficient, and yet to have the federal government come in and say, okay, you've got to cut 70%. Well, I can get what they're saying, but I also get what Utah is saying is like, look, our water's cut back every year we have a drought. Every year the streams don't fill the lakes, we have a drought. So I don't know, it's just interesting, but it'll be an ongoing discussion. And Arizona, California, they're not unlikely to join this lawsuit.
Yeah, and maybe the courts will work it out somehow, and maybe the federal government's going to have to come to a different agreement to balance things out. But I was surprised, to be honest with you, that Nevada filed a lawsuit. Nonetheless, they did. And when we come back next, we're going to zero in on Utah County, one of the districts that'll come from Alpine School District, which dissolves at the end of the school year, is already looking at the potential for closing schools, and that can be a hot topic. So let's get the truth about what's happening from school leaders after this break.
Amanda, every business needs IT help, and sometimes you've got that guy who already works for your company who knows how to do this stuff, but sometimes you don't, or the guy who knows the IT stuff, that's not his actual job.
Right. So Les Olson IT they can be your 24/7 help desk. They can support your existing help desk. They can do advanced cybersecurity protection. Maybe just come and take a look. Are you subject to phishing or ransomware or other things? What are the cyber threats you're facing?
And you've got to make sure that your data is secure, so both cloud and data backup solutions, they can help you with that. Plus, everybody's got to use a computer. That's where hardware comes in, infrastructure support. You don't have to know all this stuff because Les Olson IT knows it.
And most of the time, they can help you fix whatever's going wrong remotely, just off your computer. Plus, of course, they have copiers and printers. They always will at the very best price.
Les Olson IT is your trusted local IT partner. They've been in business for 70 years, and they've got 9 locations from Logan to Las Vegas.
Find out more at lesolson.com.
Most families get their financial advice in pieces. A financial advisor here, a CPA there, an estate attorney somewhere else. Everyone means well, but nobody's talking to each other, and those gaps can work against you. Trajan Wealth's family office brings wealth management, tax strategy, and estate planning together, not as separate conversations, but as one coordinated system built around your life, your goals, and the people who matter most. Ours is a true family office, not one that refers you out because it's convenient. This kind of dedicated collaboration used to require a 7-figure net worth, but here's the game changer. Trajan kicked that door open. Trajan advisors are fiduciaries, always obligated, always honored to act in your best interest. Unlock your Trajan family office at TrajanWealth.com or call 1-855-TRAJAN-1. That's 1-855-TRAJAN-1.
Advisory services through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Other services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax.
If you're a news and political nerd like myself, you have to make sure you're subscribed to the Utah Policy newsletter, if I do say so myself. Every weekday morning, you can get a comprehensive list of the top local and national stories, the stuff that can really make an impact in your daily life, and a little bit of fun to start your day off right. I put those together every day. You can sign up by going to utahpolicy.com and hitting that very large subscribe button.
Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. 1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Ready to get rid of that old car? Donate it to Cars for Kids. Call 877-CARS-4-KIDS to speak to a friendly live agent. Donation is super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Go to cars4kids.org now or call 877-CARS-4-KIDS to donate your car today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids.
Did you know you can donate real estate too? Go to cars4kids.org. That's cars with a K.
From the people who brought you It's the Dog Park comes.
Your dog is limping, but she seems fine. Plus, you've heard they can fake it just to get what they want. So what's the deal now? You're being gaslit.
Protect your dog from injury and illness with Progressive Pet Insurance.
Oh, now she switched legs. What a diva.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Coverage subject to policy terms.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
Truck started slow. Battery might be toast.
Slow starts are the first sign of heat damage to your battery. We'll test it, no charge.
Thanks. And if it is dead?
We'll set you up with a new, fully warranted battery, some up to 5 years, and we'll recycle the old one.
Thanks for the rundown. Lead the way.
Get free battery testing, charging, and recycling at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Any Hour Services can help unclog any drain in your house, whether you have a backup, a clog, or a slow drain you want fixed. Call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Let me ask you a question. You have a best friend? How big would it shock you if somebody told you that your best friend just killed somebody?
911, emergency. Someone on every line said they kidnapped my son, and they're demanding $500,000.
I've asked myself so many times, what in the world happened?
Ransom is available now. Listen at ransompodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
The new Inside Sources.
Well, the school year that just started is the final school year for Alpine School District in Utah County. We talked about that last week, the first day of the last year. And we spoke with the superintendent of that district last week. He told us there about some plans the district is working on before the split into 3 districts next year.
But this is something that really caught my eye today, and that's that there is a study that the Timpanogos district, which is mine, could result in the closure of several schools before they even get started. So that district covers Orem, Pleasant Grove, Linden, and Vineyard.
Yeah, there's going to be a public meeting tomorrow night, about the study. We want to chat more about the proposal with Tyler Vigue. He's the Director of Communications for the new Timpanogos School District.
Hi, Tyler. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a privilege to be here.
This can't be fun, and we understand that this happens. I mean, school districts and areas sort of grow and shrink, and their populace gets a little older. I mean, I was raised in the Granite School District, which was very robust, but then they had to shut down things. But it's a tough decision. Tell us, if you would, Tyler, how the split has affected what you're talking about here.
That's a great question. The reality is, a few years ago when the voters made their voices known, and I want to be clear, the voters that will be in the Timpanoga School District actually didn't participate in that vote. It was the voters
I
in the other
know.
two areas. They elected to do that. And, obviously there's a lot of feelings about that, right? But I do want to say, to answer your question first, and I'll comment on that. What happened at that time was the Alpine School Board, who had already considered some schools in this area for possible closure, decided, probably better to wait. Let the new school district, now the Timpanoga School District, make some of those decisions about what's right and best. So the reality is some of this has been talked about for years. Some of these even schools specifically that will likely be named tomorrow night have already had their names mentioned, have already gone through some of these processes in the past, but then at that time weren't closed. So the split kind of, in a sense, some people would say kick the can down the road on some of these things, but I want to emphasize the positive here. I think a lot of people feeling that concern and consternation, there's change, new district. I've been able to sit with our school board leaders, the elected officials, as well as those who've been appointed, and they have decided collectively and together that we're going to make the best of this situation, right? So yeah, school closures, even that conversation is a difficult conversation. Families, we know it raises that anxiety level and people are concerned and what's going to change. We know that that's super concerning. One of the things that's been really cool to watch from my front row seat is that some of our board members have lived through this as parents, right? As community members. They've watched it happen to their own kids' schools and their communities. They've watched that impact. So this isn't some remote, distant group that's like, we're going to make hard, difficult decisions and make people suffer. These are people who've lived it, but they know the challenge and the opportunity. They have seen their own kids learn, grow, and thrive through some of those changes. And they said, look, we're going to do this above board. We're going to do this. We're going to meet every state statute, as required, and then some. We're going to open this to the public to come and comment and to be a part of this process. Because we do feel that the best thing for our kids are strong, robust schools. Because this is all about the kids. This is about making sure that we have access to the resources that ensure they get the best education possible. So I'm really excited about the way the board is going about this. And anyway, I can talk more about that and answer questions you may have. But I think we're going to make the best of this situation.
So Tyler, I have a couple of comments. Mostly because I live in that area, but I will just say from our home, we've been there for 23 years, and I think there are 5 elementary schools within 2 miles of my house. And the one that my daughter went to, and now she's in junior high, but the one that she went to has seen their enrollment drop quite a bit over the years. And part of it is there's not really a lot of turnover in families with young kids who move in and then kids get older and they go to other schools. And part of it is, I think, because there are so many different opportunities, but it feels to me, if I were in your shoes, and you're very positive and optimistic, and I appreciate that, but it feels a little bit like a gut punch. It's like, okay, hey, guess what? We're not even started and we're talking about closing schools.
Yeah, totally understand that. Yeah, and again, what the process that has already transpired to this point has been setting the vision and values for what the school district is going to live by. Mm-hmm. And then our school board went through a process to determine what is a robust school, what's a strong school, what does that look like, what does that feel like? And they've determined, obviously, at the end of the day, the most important part are the people. It's the culture you create and the environment you create. But there are structural elements that impact it, right? That impact the access kids have to things that help them learn, grow, and thrive, that help them have new experiences, right? And so the hope, sincerely, is to create exceptional schools and exceptional opportunities for our kids, because that's what it's all about. So it does, I agree with you. Even just, we know that, I think some people who've already heard this or listening right now are saying, wait, has my school been named already? Are they going to name my school? Because we know that raises those feelings, and it can feel like a gut punch. And so I want to be clear and explicit. Maybe you're going to get to this, but I'll just jump ahead. The school board is planning to name more schools than they anticipate closing, which is not typically the way you do this. Often, like maybe in a Granite school district or others that have done this, they're naming a couple of schools and they are basically anticipating they're going to close those couple of schools or single school that they named. Mm-hmm. They've already said they'll probably name, and it could change, right? It's up to the school board and they're going to debate it in public, but they're probably going to name something like 10 out of our 20 elementary schools, not because they plan to close 10, but because they do plan to close multiple. and they want all of those schools that'll be significantly impacted, that are neighboring, that might take on 40% of a new student body or some significant number, to know you're part of this process. We don't want just the school that might close its doors, but also this other school that might feel like this is a new beginning. This is a whole new, different. Yeah, you say it's the same school, it's maybe the same building, but man, things have just changed dramatically. So our board says we want to notify those families, even though we know it causes some concern, because we want them to say, oh, wow, things are changing, right? This is going to be new. Again, I appreciate you noting the optimism here, but I really feel that way. We're trying to make it positive for families, knowing it's going to be hard.
So I'll say that I think families and kids are pretty resilient and they'll adapt to whatever the new normal is. But you mentioned a couple of things, and so I wanted to follow up on that. You said the school board will name schools. Is that going to happen tomorrow at the public meeting? They're going to start saying, these are the schools we're talking about.
Yeah, so it has to happen by a resolution of the board, and it has to be individual for each school named. And even like, for example, if there's a special program at the school, a dual language immersion program, those kinds of things, if they say, we're not necessarily going to close this school, but we know that program might be impacted and maybe move to a new school or something like that. Wow. I mean, again, those are options. I don't want to scare your listeners, but there's going to be a long list of resolutions at that board meeting. So by state statute, law requires that they will publish that agenda later today within at least 24 hours notice. So it will become public, right? People can look that up and find it. Your listeners can, go to our website and find those documents when they're public. But then those resolutions will be discussed. And they might, kind of go through it kind of quickly and then have a long, robust discussion, or they might pause. I don't know. They might say, now hold on, if a board member has a concern, let's talk about this one before we go any further. Do we really want this school on our list or not on the list? And they'll debate that. My anticipation is they'll kind of stick with what they've said as far as we think we're going to name, and I didn't mention junior highs, but they are anticipating naming multiple junior highs, but only potentially closing one. But again, they think these other ones would be so impacted, and they really don't have a predetermined decision yet. They want to consider options and factors and truly study this.
You kind of answered my question whether or not junior highs or high schools would be included, and you mentioned junior highs. Does that mean you're right now not considering closing any high schools?
Yeah, the board, when they started this discussion of what's a robust school, and they call it the mother of all boundary studies, right? They're going to study everything in the district. So for a few months, they've been going through the process, and they did. Initially, everything was on the table, and they felt like pretty quickly it became clear that closing a high school wasn't the best solution and wouldn't have been really palatable for the community and things. And so we're going to keep those. But we have 4 traditional high schools in the district, and we have 5 junior highs, and they just feel like to make those junior highs robust, it's probably better to have 4 and 4 than 5 and 4. So again, they'll debate that, discuss that, and then spend at least 90 days studying it before they finalize the decision.
All right, we're about out of time, but can you tell us quickly where people can go to find the information and where they can watch this? What time is the meeting tomorrow?
Yeah, so timpsd.org is the short version of the URL. So TIMPSD, like Timpanogos School District.org. You can find all of our documents and information there. There's a page about the board that will have the link to the meetings and those kinds of things. And there's a page about this boundary study if you want to get our frequently asked questions and those kinds of things, which we'll continue to update through this process. So go there. Tomorrow, we do have an open public study session where the board will just talk about some of these kinds of things in a public meeting at 4:00. And then at 6:00, the board meeting officially starts. Again, it's also your listeners and viewers can watch this, tune in remotely, watch it later from our website, find those links, or they can come in person. And if they want to right now, even sign up to make public comment.
All right. Thank you so much, Tyler Vigue, Communications Director for the new Timpanogos School District. And look, coming up next on Inside Sources, we're going to talk about lemon laws. Stay with us.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Adam Small. To look at our top stories this half hour. Nearly a dozen people had to be rescued due to massive flash flooding in Bryce Canyon National Park. Wade Matthews with the Garfield County Sheriff's Office tells KSL they ended up having to rescue 11 people between 4 different groups across the park yesterday. He says 2 people ended up having to go to the hospital with hypothermia symptoms, while the others were checked out and released on scene. Officials now believe a fire that burned near Utah State University last month started in a compost pile. Experts say the process of decomposition creates heat, and sometimes, if packed tightly enough, it's enough to start a fire.
Use caution about how you pile the products.
Keep the pile spread out, keep an eye on it, make sure there's no immediate combustibles within the immediate area, and keep a water source handy. Just keep an eye on it, make sure it doesn't get too far along on the process.
Logan City Fire Marshal Aaron Walker tells KSL they believe the compost pile in question spontaneously combusted, which led to a fire that burned about 17 acres near the USU campus. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. We are now waiting for the state's final witness in the trial of Lindsay Clancy, the Massachusetts woman accused of murdering her 3 children. Clancy's lawyer argues she was suffering from postpartum psychosis at the time, but a forensic psychologist disputed that on the stand today.
Providing kind of an alternate theory of motive here. His argument is that Clancy is someone who was controlling and disciplined throughout her entire life, and that after her mental health began to decline right around October 2022, and she began seeing all these experts and doctors, she became frustrated that her symptoms could not get under control, that she was declining, that she couldn't really do anything about it. She then considered suicide.
ABC's Peter Haralambous reporting. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the markets are all in the green right now. The Dow's currently up 72 points. The S&P's up 13. The NASDAQ is up 121. Coming up, maybe seeing some more thunderstorms today, but we're going to continue to dry out throughout the week. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
I'm not one to say I told you so, but I switched to Pure Talk over a year ago, and ever since, I've been telling people there's no better wireless company out there. Well, a few months ago, a massive survey was conducted. 123,000 people were asked to rate their wireless carrier in 4 categories: coverage, support, data, and overall value. Well, the results are in. Guess which wireless company was the only wireless company to get 5 stars in every category? Yeah, Pure Talk. 5 stars, every category. To celebrate, Pure Talk is offering the first 3 months of any plan for just $15 a month, including their top-tier unlimited plan. No contract, no commitment, just a very inexpensive way to test drive the only American wireless company with 5 stars in every category. Just dial pound 250, say micro, and Pure Talk's U.S. customer service will take it from there. Again, pound 250 micro. And yes, I told you so.
Right now, UCCU is offering short-term savings options with incredibly high yields. Simply make a deposit, then watch your savings grow with a fixed rate of return that's much higher than a savings account. UCCU also has great offers on jump-up options. So if rates continue to rise, you can jump up your rate and earn even more. Visit uccu.com to learn more and supercharge your savings today. UCCU. Love where you bank.
I'm Walker Kessler, and I play basketball for a living. So I know how important it is to have the support of a team you can trust. That's why I love UCCU. UCCU is more than a credit union. They're a true financial partner, a local team of experts your entire family can trust at every step of your financial journey. Just visit uccu.com and elevate your banking experience.
Traffic and weather together is brought to you by UCCU. Auto loan rates as low as 4.74% APR. Here's Devin Lattori.
Eastbound Hinckley Drive in Ogden is closed from 1900 West to Pennsylvania Avenue due to a pothole in the road. Also, another notice for Ogden drivers. There may be intermittent traffic holds today between 1 and 5 p.m. due to a permitted film crew near 24th Street and Grant Avenue. I'm Devin Lattori in the KSL Traffic Center.
We don't have much of a chance of seeing rain or thunderstorms today. Slight chance of it maybe, but it's forecasted, not expected it to be very widespread, isolated, if anything. Better chance of thunderstorms tomorrow evening. Highs expected to stay in the mid-90s throughout most of the week, and then expected to see lower temperatures as we get into the weekend. Right now, it's 83 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Adam Small from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at ksl.com, we're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Do lemon cars have you feeling sour? Well, you're not alone. Utah does have a lemon law to help with these kinds of cars, which generally have persistent safety, value, or utility issues.
Utah's law is a little different. It actually puts more of a burden on the consumer to prove that their car is a lemon, and it only applies to new cars, not used cars.
That was shocking to me. Actually, when I think of a lemon law, I only think of used cars. It's like, why would a brand new car be considered a lemon, right? So when I saw this story about the Utah Consumer Protection Director calling for changes because it only applies to new cars, I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Well, to me, it makes sense. And
Why?
I'll tell you why. Because a new car that's not working right is the result of defect from the manufacturer. A used car that's not working right may be because the prior owner beat the heck out of it.
Right.
So it's not really a lemon. I mean, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, why you'd have a new car. I mean, but Utah's law really requires you to go through a lot of things. That the consumer has to take a new vehicle in at least 4 times in its first year for the same mechanical issue.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, if it's a different one every time,
right,
it's really
doesn't apply.
What's it called? A pile of lemons. What's a big stack of lemons?
I don't know.
I don't know. A consumer also has to have has to be without access to the vehicle for at least 30 or more days during the first year
gosh.
because of repairs. So
I would be so mad.
4 times in the first year for the same problem, can't get it fixed, and 30 or more days out of service for the first year. That seems to be, I bought a lot of cars in my life, hardly any new. I never buy used cars or new cars, but I've never had a car that had that.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say under Utah's lemon law, I've never had a lemon.
So we, I hope it doesn't offend the people we've bought the cars from. We typically buy junker cars. We've gotten a little better. I bought a little bit newer. I think my car is now only 20 years old. I don't remember. but when we had a bunch of teenage drivers, we thought it just made sense. We'd pay $1,000 for a car and they'd, drive it into the ground. And so I one time had a car that we bought, and because it was a friend of ours who sold used cars, I was able to take it back and say, look, the heat doesn't work. We thought it did. It's got this issue. And he just let me kind of trade for a different $1,000 car.
Oh.
That's what I thought the lemon law applied to, right? It was like it was purchased from a used car dealer, but there had been some things to it from the previous owner that they wanted to make it look better than it actually was. And it's like, I found the problems.
Put lipstick on that pig.
Yeah, they had tried. And it was super interesting. But
a lot of
I
dealers,
just didn't know.
It does seem like dealers, because
I can see if
you've got to be in business for years, and you have a good rapport. Maybe you have some program like a used car dealer. Like, hey, if you don't like it in the first 30 days, bring it back, and we'll give you credit toward another used car. New car dealers, they're dealing with the manufacturer. If you're selling a specific make of vehicle and it's bad, you've got to you deal with the company, your Ford, whoever Lincoln, whoever brought the company, the car from.
Right. So I just think it's interesting. I can understand why a lemon law wouldn't apply to, say, classified ads where you just, it's a private transaction. But it sounds like such a high bar and so rare. It's not that it's never happened, but it has been, I think, maybe a much higher bar, which of course makes me ask this question. Which lobbyists got to the Utah legislature before they passed the lemon law?
The car dealers. But the reason we're talking about it is that Katie Haas, the director of the Utah Division of Consumer Protection, said she's sort of giving us an idea that maybe Utah needs to put some laws in effect that are similar to other states, and maybe not make it quite so hard on the consumer to prove that their car is a lemon, because those criteria seem awfully difficult to overcome.
There have been lawsuits because they couldn't get the dealers to honor the lemon law even when they had happened, right? So one of the things that they want to change is to say that the division can actually recover attorney's fees and investigative costs in an action against the manufacturer, because as you mentioned, it goes from the dealership to the manufacturer, right? It's just weird to me.
Yeah, that's something you'd put in a law to make it more so that the person who doesn't have the money can feel like if they win, they get their attorney's fees paid. Otherwise, it's
Right.
who has the better attorney.
Right.
They're going to win.
Right.
And if you got more money, you'll get the better attorney sometimes. So this sort of levels that playing field, that winner prevails, and winner gets their attorney's fees. If you sue, under a
Right.
lemon law, you can
Right.
get your attorney's fees paid.
Look, we just got a text reminding me that a member of Senate leadership is a car dealer. Okay. Well, I hope you're listening. And you can tell the lobbyists that we're actually going to protect consumers in the state of Utah. So look, it was really surprising to me that the lemon laws in Utah only apply to new cars, and they're really, really under very tight circumstances. And so to have, I think, the director of an agency say, we really need to think about changing these laws, well, I think that has some impact.
I do a lot of work with the Department of Motor Vehicles Enforcement Division. They're the car cops, I guess.
What does that mean?
They're the ones that police dealers. They
Okay.
do, and people who sell cars. Motor Vehicles has an enforcement division. They have their own in-house
I just had no idea.
police officers.
Okay.
And they tell me that we do a pretty good job in Utah, that our dealers are generally good. Of course, there are some that are not, and they identify them and they shut them down.
Sure.
And they sometimes leave a trail of a lot of injured people. But by and large, I think that we do a good job of policing our dealers here. I think our DMV is top notch. The guys I work with there and women are just very, very good. But, without them, I think some dealers would run amok a little bit, but they know that they're being watched and they're being followed, and that if you want to have some longevity in this market, if you want to be a car dealer in 10 years, you've got to make your customers happy. If you get too many complaints and DMV comes down, shuts you down, then you just, so much for that. And because you've got to put some money on the front end to get a business like that going.
So again, this is Katie Haas, I think is her name, director of the Utah Division of Consumer Protection, saying she would like to see some changes. And I think putting less of a burden on the consumer and also expanding it to used cars. I just can't wrap my head around it has to be a new car that you can't use for 30 days out of the year.
And you have to take it in 4 times for
the
same
problem within the first year.
You got brakes and shocks and motor and
whatever it is.
Up. Yeah,
right?
you got to do it 4
I
times.
know.
So yeah, that does seem a little bit draconian. But one of our listeners said maybe there's some underlying,
Well, no one. I said, who's the lobbyist?
Lobbying going on here.
Who's the lobbyist that got there?
Who knows? On the other hand, you don't want people just taking cars back and suing every time you got a problem. So I think our manufacturers generally do a good job, and our dealers in Utah, I think, try to do a good job.
We did have a listener remind us that you can measure a bunch of lemons in bushels and pecks. So there you go.
Okay, good. Well, I'm educated again. Well, coming up on Inside Sources.
Boo-boo, we'll never eat that forest fare while I'm smarter than the average bear. Yeah.
And speaking of smart bears, a lot of them are coming down from the mountains this summer, probably thanks to the drought. And one elementary school in Sanpete County found themselves in a bit of a pickle when a baby bear got a little too close. More on that when we come back.
When you need a new water heater, you need it right now.
Yep, can't wait on that.
When you need a new furnace or a new air conditioner come the summertime, you need it right now. So Superior Water and Air has a wonderful program where they can help you with financing. If you need it, get it today and pay it off when you get your tax refund or just over time.
And that's one of the great things is they have multiple financing options. It's not just one, okay, you've got to do it this way. It's, you can wait till just after your tax refund. Well, what if you need no payments until later in the year?
Yeah.
They can work with you like that because, look, they want to help you get you back on your feet with the thing that doesn't work that you got to use.
Yeah.
And they'll just work with your situation. What a great way to do it.
I loved introducing you to my friends at Superior because they're just great people. And when you invite somebody into your home, you want to feel good about them.
Yeah, and they're so customer-centric. That was what really impressed me was they wanted to work with me and my family, whatever needs we might have.
Right. They want your home to be safe and clean. Superior Water and Air. Here's the number, 801-872-8483, or go to superiorwaterandair.com.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness.
And Utah isn't immune, with nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or another form of mental illness.
But there's hope.
we can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe.
That's why KSL has teamed with the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation to bring you hope and help you thrive.
It's Healthy Mind Matters.
Find out more at healthymindmatters.com.
Hey, join the conversation. Do you have an idea or topic you think we should talk about more on the show? Let us know. Send us an email at insidesources@ksl.com and tell us what you think we should cover. We're always looking for ideas and would love to keep you, our listener, included in the chat.
Who is Farm Bureau Financial Services? At our core, we're relationship builders. We're home and auto bundlers, life insurers, farm and ranch protectors, and retirement planners. We're neighbors, community members, and friends. We're the people you can count on now and for years to come. Find a Farm Bureau agent at fbfs.com/protect. Farm Bureau Property and Casualty Insurance Company, Western Agricultural Insurance Company, Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-330-8323 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-330-8323. That's 800-330-8323. What do you have to lose? Call 800-330-8323. Again, 800-330-8323.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Successful businesses solve real problems, and today, more entrepreneurs are helping address one of society's biggest challenges, loneliness and social disconnection. Dating strategist and matchmaker Kristen Sokol joins us to share how her business is helping people build meaningful relationships and lasting connections.
Ever since our lives moved onto smartphones and we stopped looking at each other, loneliness has skyrocketed. That's one reason the dating support and matchmaking industry has grown so much. I've spent the last 20 years helping singles as a dating expert. I've completed graduate work in professional coaching and hold a science-based date coaching certification through the Global Love Institute. Besides my own marriage and my 2 kids who are grown, being part of 150 client marriage stories is the greatest joy of my life. People should note that dating in Utah isn't broken. Every weekend, wedding venues are full. Love is happening all around us. More often than not, it's not your location or your culture, it's your approach. Small shifts in mindset and strategy create big opportunities. Falling in love is not completely out of your hands. You have far more influence than you think, and that's really hopeful.
Building meaningful relationships can change lives, and Kristen Sokol is helping people approach dating with confidence, purpose, and hope. To learn more about her coaching and matchmaking services, visit kristensokol.com. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Inside Sources.
Bare necessities, the simple bare necessities.
Well, there was a
I
little
love it so much.
baby bear down in St. Pete County. He was looking a little bit more than this, the bare necessities. He actually ended up near 2 schools.
So, look, I understand the concerns, and also, so yesterday near Mount Pleasant Elementary and North St. Pete High School, a little baby bear wandered around the school grounds. Those schools were placed on a secure status while officials looked for Mama Bear, which I can understand.
Yeah, I was thinking, well, who cares about a baby bear? Well, Mama does. So if you're
I
at
know,
school
right?
and you see a baby, like, maybe don't get too close. I don't think they
know.
found the Mama Bear, actually, but the baby bear is certainly cute, and you can look at a picture on KSL.com.
I know. And, I just saw that story, and it just made me smile. I'm sure that if I had a child in that elementary school, I would have been like, there's a what? Yeah. but the babies are so cute, right? I mean, I suppose that's why they're so appealing. But anyway, there have been a lot more bear sightings. And I think there was one, there have been several in trees. There have been several that have really become a little too comfortable around humans, and I think they're just coming down because there's no food up higher.
Yeah, with the drought and everything. We
Yeah.
don't think about Utah as being a particularly big bear state, but we do have our share. And
We
if
do.
you're in Sanpete County, that seems like a fairly remote area. Of course, bears don't. I mean, I just haven't heard of a bear in that particular part of the state.
Well, now we have, and it
Yeah.
was a baby, and it
Yep.
was cute. So, okay, so today it's Tuesday. It's National Banana Split Day, but it's also Pumpkin Spice Latte Day. I don't think that's official, but it's the Starbucks day.
Okay, so I went to my Starbucks this morning, and I asked the woman. I said, "Is it? Are you doing the pumpkin? What is it?
Pumpkin Spice
Pumpkin
Latte."
Spice, and she actually was putting up a sign. She's
Yeah.
like, "You're interrupting me. I'm trying to put a sign up that said Pumpkin Spice." So she said, "Do you want to try one?" I'm like, "Sure." So I did.
And
it cost more than the normal latte that I get, and it was actually surprisingly good. It smelled really good. I mean, my car was like, "Oh, this is wonderful."
So we did. You tried your first one, and our producer Andy Kepp recorded your initial reaction. We have it up on our Instagram page, Inside Sources Instagram. So just go look at Inside Sources.
It was
at
fun.
KSL.
I
So
don't know if I'll get another one, but
look. We talked about this yesterday. One of the things that's so funny to me is I did not realize that when people talk about pumpkin spice, if you haven't been a baker, you maybe thought there was pumpkin in it. There's not. It's literally the spices you put in pumpkin pie. So it might be better called pumpkin pie spice. There's no pumpkin involved in pumpkin spice.
it's like nutmeg or cinnamon or something.
Yeah, cinnamon is the key ingredient, and then you've got nutmeg, ginger, allspice, and cloves. So it's just a combination of spices. It's the reason it smells so good. That's what we cook in the fall, right? You put it in cider. You put it in
Right.
your pumpkin pie when you're
Right.
baking for Thanksgiving,
Right.
And I told you yesterday, some clever marketer,
but no pumpkin.
It's no pumpkin in the pumpkin spice. So I wish that when Starbucks introduced pumpkin spice lattes, that the weather would immediately cooperate, but it's still in the 90s. So I don't know what to do about that.
Yeah.
Okay, fun facts for today. It's August 25th, so you know what that means, right?
No, do not. Do
4
not
months
go
until
down
Christmas.
that road.
We're 2/3 of the way through the Christmas year, right? So 4 months. Okay, so on this day in 325, the Council of Nicaea concluded with the adoption of the Nicene Creed. You've heard about that?
No.
So that is the foundation for Catholicism, and that was the
Okay.
creed that they put together.
All right.
Okay, so if you ever go on Google and you see the Google Doodles, those are the artwork that are specific to specific things. Well, today's has a Google Doodle for national parks because it was on this day in 1916, so 110 years ago, if I can do math.
Yep.
The National Park Service was founded.
Good for them. I mean, and
and they
national
did a
parks,
Google Doodle. It's really
yeah,
cute.
That's fun. And love, Utah has the best national parks in the country.
Sure.
Without a doubt. And so, yeah, it's a good day to appreciate that.
I love some of the other national parks as well. I've really enjoyed Yellowstone. I haven't been to very many outside of the West, but there are some really great ones.
Oh, there really are.
Yeah.
Grand Canyon's beautiful, too.
Yep, it is too. Yeah, that's right. So it was on this day in 1944 that Paris was liberated. Paris, France, was liberated after 4 years of Nazi occupation. That was.
I didn't realize the occupation lasted that long.
Yeah, it was
4
not-
years.
Yeah.
Those Parisians, they should thank us.
Yeah. Okay.
How quickly they forget.
Look, so I'll tell you this quick story. We lived in France when I was a teenager. It was in the late 70s. So I think we moved there in 77. And there were older people from the war that, I mean, we're clearly Americans. We stand out. We're living in southern France. My dad was teaching at the French Air Force Academy as an exchange officer. They would literally, these older women, come up to my mom and my dad, and they would grab their hands and kiss them, and they would cry, and they would thank them. There definitely were people. But the reason we lived just on the economy, we called it, and not on a base, is because Charles de Gaulle said, okay, thanks so much for your help. You're done. Now you can leave. So we didn't have any kind of military bases there. And so we just lived on the economy, which is what let me learn to speak French.
Yeah.
Okay. It was on this day in 1950 that President Truman ordered the Army to seize control of the railroads. Uh-oh.
I don't understand why.
What's nationalization of the railroad system?
But that didn't last, did it?
No, it didn't last. No. Look, I wanted to say this too. So we've talked about Puerto Rico. They've had all kinds of issues with power and water, and some of them want to become a state. It was on this day in 1952 that Puerto Rico actually became a U.S. Commonwealth. So I thought that was interesting. They've been associated for a long time. It's like, make us a state.
Yeah,
but they're not
over
a state.
70 years, yeah.
Okay, so it was on this day. I don't know if you remember if this little girl, but her name was Samantha Smith. She was 13 years old. She wrote a letter to the leader of the Soviet Union talking about peace. Unfortunately, it was on this day in 1985 that she died in a plane crash. So she was very young, and she was really she really made the news. And I remember her story. It's like she was so brave to say, "Hey, we need to have peace." And speaking of that, it was in 1990 that the UN Security Council authorized military action against Iraq. Well, we know how that turned out.
Well, yeah, not too well. Hey, before I go on this day in 2009, Ted Kennedy died, and on this day in 2018, John McCain died.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, two men who could probably solve a lot of our country's problems right now.
Because they would probably work together, wouldn't they?
A Democrat and Republican who were both way out there.
Yeah.
But probably, boy, we could use a man like Ted Kennedy and John McCain again, to quote from All in the Family. Anyway, I wanted to end the day where we started the day, which is how I ended the day yesterday, which was a Supreme Court decision kind of coming down, striking a judge who had stayed the president's executive order about mail-in voting. And I was shocked at the Supreme Court's decision, because I thought the better course, and the reason I'm not on the Supreme Court is because my better course isn't always the right course, would have been to just leave it. Like, okay, it's there. We can litigate it some other day, but let's not rock the apple cart right now this close to the election. But they did, and they did send some shockwaves. And the first thing, my wife was just like, this is incredible. She's very upset about it. And I got to thinking more and more about the logic behind what's happening right now in our country with elections. And I would say this, it seems like some groups are making it more and more and more difficult to vote. The theory being that conservatives will vote, and the harder you make it for liberals, I guess, the more likely that some of them won't vote. And I'm making it a little too simple, but I would just say, be careful what you ask for. I don't know that that's true. I don't know that you can say, oh, if you make it difficult for African Americans to vote, they won't, or marginalized communities, or the poor, or whatever. But the Republicans are just going to show up, rain or shine. Like, I don't know. I think that no matter how difficult you make it to vote, we're just learning that Dolly Parton died.
That is sad breaking news
80.
at the very end of our show.
Yeah, that's too bad. I would, and I that's really sad. I really like Dolly Parton.
Wow. Okay, well, you heard it here first. Dolly Parton has died at age 80.
And vote this year.
You do need to vote.
Yeah, we can make it.
We're going to talk about. She just has some amazing programs, so I'm sure that the new news will talk about this sad breaking news. But that is it for us on Inside Sources today, and you'll hear from Maria Chaleos on Utah's Noon News next.